All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
I need to have another one of these.
Amen, amen.
Shit. I kind of.
This is way over the edge. Like we it's not even over the edge. We died already.
This is beyond the event horizon. Like we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah, we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, y'all, gravity. Any evening above ground, live it.
I'm back.
Yeah, that's right. If you were here in the live, that is now going to be on members only. Yeah, them fools actually talk to each other, and it went about as you could expect. Foolishness. And unfortunately, we're going to have to listen to this because there was a lot of things that we're going to have to correct in here because, as you know, the white supremacists just say things. And it's pretty bad that they just get to say things and don't, get corrected. But this is what you come here for, because we're going to correct it. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to acknowledge who's in the building, do the disclaimers, and we're going to get into it. I know you guys got things to do on this beautiful Thursday evening. I hope you're staying warm. Miss Nisi, hello. Wallow J, hello. Rosalind, hello. For those who haven't said anything in the live chat or the comments, DSA, hello. Good evening. So let's do the customary house cleaning and let's get into it.
Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now go to start the teaching.
Let me go here. There's a growing concern.
Oh, Lord. I kicked you, but you're here. Okay. Well, fam, he's back, but We're not here for him. Let's get into the work.
Always leave a buffer urinal.
All right. Do we have our guest on the show? All right. It's time. And again, you guys can leave your comments in chat and we'll take some questions from you later on. Let's welcome to the show, Nick Fuentes. Mr. Fuentes, thank you for being here, sir. Can you hear me, see me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I appreciate the Christmas decor. A lot of people don't do that. Let me get this just out of the way really quickly. Obviously on X, and that's a win. You're back, Nick J. Fuentes, Nicholas J. Fuentes. It's America First on Rumble weeknights, right?
Yes, correct.
He's already lied. He America First? Since when?
Again! Okay, and then as I understand it, next week you are going to be on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Yes, on Monday I'll be doing a show.
I will warn you, Piers Morgan Uncensored is rather censored. I don't know.
In what way? How do you mean?
Well, he challenged me to use the N-word on the show, and I did it 3 times, stuck the landing in front of Mark Lamont Hill. They just skimmed past it and then edited it out afterwards.
Well, no kidding, because maybe he doesn't want to get demonetized. But I like how you just admitted that you said the N-word 3 times. Okay. All right.
So no N-word, huh? All right. I'll have to keep that in mind.
Right.
I'll try not to use it.
If he asks you, well, would you say it, or he challenges you and you do, he pulls a magic trick where people don't hear it.
I'll have to record it on my end. I'll just blast off. Maybe if I say loud enough, they'll just play it anyway.
Well, I actually did that one time, so we can give you some tips. I had a buzzer every time someone would interrupt, and he edited out the buzzer. Not him, his producers. But Nick, I appreciate you being here, man. You know, right now it's a weird time where people are trying to tell folks they can't actually have conversations, no matter how much you agree, disagree. So if it's, I'd like to kind of set what my expectations are, because I did hear that you said you hope this would be friendly. That's my goal too. The first thing I will say, we got into it with Jillian Michaels. I should say this week, where she was demanding people disavow, and I'll get to that. I hate, above all else, it's like I feel compelled to defend, no matter who it is, when jokes or statements are mischaracterized, taken out of context. I've had that happen to me. I think it's happened to you quite a bit. I don't want to do that. All right. Hopefully, I think, neither one of us does that. And I also really hate seeing gang ups. And that's why I killed the mics of anyone here. I really didn't like seeing what happened with Candace and Tucker, especially after you appeared with Tucker.
Yeah, she did, because you sat there and railed on her right after it happened. So don't tell that lie.
And it seemed pretty cordial. And then he took pot shots once you were gone. I promise you.
What are you doing? Put my phone down, please. Put it back in the charger. Go read a book, please.
Wait, I did that.
Go read another one. Or go do some math. Thank you so much.
I'm not going to do that. That fair?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Okay. And what I really want to do is I want people to actually hear your views for what they actually are. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree. And some people, they'll be moved. They'll be convinced. And I want them to make up their own mind and be able to contrast it. So I asked that we're able to do that. I will also say, hey, look, I do want to thank you, because, I've been subject to some concerted hit pieces myself. And you didn't join in on the dog pile. And I do appreciate that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, got to stand up for a guy. It's bros before hoes. So
yes.
Yeah, and your quote unquote hoe took your money. Oops. You tried to sue your quote unquote hoe, and she took money from you. And the cheering. Or we're not going to discuss that. Hey, Nikki, I'm surprised Stephen Crowder didn't ask you why you let that blue-haired fat white woman punk you in your own house. I'm just saying. Why was Nikki hiding when the dude came with the crossbow? Why did you tell police that you were Mexican? You should have said you were white. But we know why you didn't do it. Because you're a punk. Now get to work.
So I'm with you.
No, I don't so much appreciate you implying that I'm bringing talking points from BlackRock or the Israel lobby, considering I've been sued by BlackRock and even Rumble had to fight back. So I think let's just make sure we take each other's opinions at face value. I don't think that you're paid for it to say anything that you're saying, and I can tell you definitively that I've never taken a dime from an outside entity, nonprofit, or foreign interest. Not good?
Yeah.
Now, how you tell that lie? Oh boy. Okay. Steven Crowder, did you not take money from CPAC to go talk? We're going to leave that one in the chamber.
Yeah, I believe you. Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Also, I want to make sure we can issue so we're not mischaracterized. A lot of people watching. This is the last kind of ground rule. I want to kind of address each issue point by point. I'm going to avoid point stacking or just go rapid fire because people will use that, take it out of context. People go, and Nick wiggled out of this, and they do that with me. I want no one to mischaracterize anything. So with that said, I have a couple of rapid fires, but I think you're going to like them. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
These are layups, and I mean rapid fire. I want to give.
You know what? We're just going to shoot the chamber off right now. I just don't care at this point. I really don't. Sir, you got paid to go perform at CPAC. We have the video. So you already lied, but you want receipts? We have it.
Let me go here. There's a growing concern.
Sir, this wasn't you? That's not you in the black tracksuit, sir. That's not you, sir. Hold up, sir. That's not you. That's not you. Oh, let me guess. You're going to tell us you did this for free. Okay.
Little bitches need reminding of what we were before. In the sense that led us up to revolution before. Hot taxes to the bone without a force of our own. Roll top down from the ground, we wanted left alone. All y'all so sucky taking it year after year.
Yeah, it sucks, but you're gonna tell us that you didn't get paid for that. Okay, sure. I guess we can just chalk it up. He did something nice for CPAC.
Give you the floor. Nick, I think there's some misconceptions of you. I've heard this said. Can you clear the air? Nick Fuentes, do you hate all Jews, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you consider yourself an anti-Semite, a noted anti-Semite?
No.
Okay. Clears that up. Do you believe that white people are superior to all other races on the planet?
No.
Okay. Do you want to eradicate all non-whites from the United States?
No.
Okay, well, Barry Weiss will be very happy to hear that. No doubt she's watching. And then because this happens a lot, right? Tucker did this with you. Fed. Nick Fuentes, are you in fact a Fed?
No.
Okay. I'm going to get through these rapid fire really quickly. They're actually, there's not much. So this week, Jillian Michaels will be on the show next week while you're.
Funny thing about that whole little exchange they just had. A lot of people saw that clip on X and they were going in on Nick Fuentes. Oh, I figured, his sycophant's gonna find this video and gonna tell me I'm lying. All right. Let's see if we can get it. I had to stretch it out. Let's see. So this is Evan Kilgore's. He a whole shill, but okay. Guys, sometimes it's not Israel. It can't be Israel every single time. How quickly we've changed. Huh? What Jews does he like? How is this different from the Tucker interview? Bringing up Mossad, laughing out loud. Nick Fuentes got the call. But we're not going to stop the video. We'll put that in the chat. They just don't, they just going to lie all night. But, you know, we here for it.
Get to work!
We're doing Pierce Morgan Censored. And she said that we need to disavow you, and specifically said you had said that women either want or need to be raped. Now, I looked for this. I have not found, as a matter of prescription from you, correct me if I'm wrong, that you believe women should be raped as a matter of policy. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you're correct on that. Yes.
Okay. All right. So she's wrong. She's just an angry lesbian. Got it. Now, finally, this one might surprise people because I know you and Charlie Kirk were sort of rivals, as you've described. Been a lot of...
Interesting. Quite interesting. Hey, Nikki. So, I'm just curious. So you didn't say, so Sarah McCammon lied. That's what you're saying. That's interesting. So why did people come after you over that? We'll circle back to that later.
Controversy floating around that, and people often say that you blame the Jews for everything. Do you believe the Jews killed Charlie Kirk? That's one of the conspiracies out there right now. What's your position on that?
I don't believe that. As it stands right now, I think it was Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Me too. And if there's something else, I hope that we find out. But I think a lot of people would just sort of toss you in that lot. Okay. I think we cleared that up. So look, there's some people who might be new to you here. I know you've told your story quite a few times. Some people here may not have heard your background. Tell folks out here your story. How did you come to your current positions?
Well, I appreciate the rapid fire intro because that is my reputation. That's what people say is that I'm pro-rape, want to kill everybody, whatever. So
I told you
my audience. Yeah, I did. And I appreciate the opportunity because my audience knows that, but maybe your audience might not, or other people might not. So I actually appreciate that. And as far as how I came to my views, I've told the story many times. I'll give you kind of the shorter version. And feel free to jump in or ask me questions or clarify. But I was a fairly normie conservative in high school. I was very political since I was 12 years old. And like everybody in those days, you know, there wasn't a lot of stuff on social media, like conservative informational content. Right. And so what you had was PJ Media, you had the Hoover Institute, you know, you had things like this. And that's kind of how I got acclimated into conservative politics and Prager University and all that kind of stuff. And I would say that I was about as mainstream as it gets. I was pro-Israel, pro-free market, fiscal conservative, basically libertarian is what I would say about myself. And then the Trump election kind of just hit me like a train. And I had a series of realizations about the media, about immigration and demographic change in America, what the political implications would be for that in elections, but also just in society. And then obviously the biggest and most controversial one is I really love the idea of America first. Trump said that at his inaugural. He said that at the RNC. And when I heard that, I said, that's me. Like more than I'm a libertarian or even a conservative, I'm that. I'm America first. Right. I'm a nationalist. And then I just began to notice that there was always just one exception to that rule in the conservative space. And that obviously that's Israel. And I remember I knew a lot of people from Daily Wire in college. This is jumping ahead a little bit to when I was in college. I met a lot of the writers there, and some of them were Jewish and some of them were not, but they were all extremely pro-Israel. And I remember first just thinking that was weird because you had the set of talking points from PragerU Daily Wire, whatever. And it was like, we're in favor of gun rights, low taxes, the free market, pretty standard set. And then it was always, and Israel has a right to exist and Palestine must be destroyed. And I said, one of these things is not like the other. Like, this is clearly different and it's conspicuous. And you never see a critical opinion on those things. And I tweeted that, I want to say 10 years ago. I said, I've never actually seen criticism of Israel on Daily Wire or PragerU. Mm-hmm. And I remember Shapiro called me an anti-Semite for saying that. And I said, how is that anti-Semitic? And what's more, I said, that reminds me of how if you criticize women or blacks or Muslims, they call you sexist, racist, Islamophobic. I said, so how's that different? Right. And for that, I got blacklisted. And
by the way, Nicholas, because you just, I was about to Jigglypuff you, but I'm reserving judgment for now. But young man, I have a question. Because internet is forever. They like to tell you that. You want to explain this to us, by the way? You're gonna his people gonna tell me that and y'all that he never said this, right? Okay. All right. I know I'm not going to get full monetization for this. I understand it, but we still have to tell the truth.
Let me go here. There's a growing concern.
Young man, you didn't say this?
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
You didn't say that, and they didn't tweet that, huh? That didn't happen. That's AI, right? I'm sure that's what you're gonna say. That's AI. Yet this came from Twitter. Interesting. Quite interesting. But you're right. That never happened.
Get to work! And they really made my life a living hell. Yeah. These people went to American Conservative Union. They got me banned from CPAC. Cabot Phillips, who was at Daily Wire now, back then he was Campus Reform. Dad is Tim Phillips at AFP. Mm-hmm. This guy was out to get me. He was, pushing hit pieces. Shapiro was going around calling me an anti-Semite and blowing up hit pieces about me. And basically ever since then, I guess I've been kind of like, I consider myself like the Revenant. You know that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he gets like killed by a bear? Yeah. And then he has to fight through the wilderness. That's kind of how I feel. Yeah. I was like Left 4 Dead at 18. And then I had to kind of fight to repair my reputation and like prove what I'm saying. So that's kind of the
what's crazy about that movie is the real story. The guy's actually more badass. I don't know if you've actually read about him. In real life, he sexually dominates the bear. But it's I remember that big controversy when there were a bunch of conservatives saying,
yeah.
Pause. He paused. I said pause, nigga. Mind you, LeBron is spending $2.5 million on his body. Pause.
I would give it to Barkley. Pause. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, but I'll let you go. Pause. It's a luxury to have a big man. Pause. They gave him the soft one. The hard one. Pause. Pause, nigga.
I wonder how much of that was factored into the decision to give him the Oscar.
We're not going to go see The Revenant. There was this rumor that he was raped by the bear. I don't know if you remember that. That was a big story. And I watched, I'm like, it's just a CGI bear. I do want to go back. So Daily Wire, sure. Because I don't know if you know this. We also mentioned PJ Media. That's where I was first doing stuff in 2009 after YouTube. And like you, I grew up in Canada. So we didn't have AM radio. We didn't have Fox News. I was at Fox News for about 4.5 years. And I'd never seen anyone who was there on air. They just threw me on a panel with Alan Combs and said, debate this guy. And then it just kind of went on for a while and I reached the end of the road. But I don't know if you know this. I've had a little bit of a, I guess you could say, turbulent history with Daily Wire myself. Not for the same reasons, but I will say this. There have been some things I haven't talked about publicly regarding Daily Wire. People knew the contract issues, but I know you've used the term gatekeeping, and I can tell you that was something that bothered me behind the scenes too. Let me ask you this before we get to that, because it sounds like you're saying, and this is something I kind of seen, I've kind of watched you develop a little bit, and I can understand why someone who's young, I hate to use the term lashes out. I'm not going to put you on a couch and ask about your mother, but I can understand why you'd be upset. Was this, though, when Ben Shapiro was saying that, was it before or after the sort of what he would classify as targeted harassment campaigns from the Groypers, like, bombarding his events, and a lot of conservatives were being, doxxed and swatted? I'm not holding you responsible for that, but you know that happened quite a bit. I know you've been victim to it yourself. Was his blacklisting before that, so that your sort of campaign or your fans' campaign was a response, or was it after?
It was completely before.
Okay.
So just for the timeline, it was December 2016, and I didn't start my show until February 17. So it's before I even had a show, before I was anybody, before the Groypers were even a thing. Groypers came around in 19, so it was way before.
Okay, because I did have the Groypers show up to like a comedy event. This happened a while ago, and they just sort of went away, and they were under the impression, I don't know if you said this, I was like an open borders cuck. And it kind of fizzled out, but I was like, well, no, I'm not. I think we should close the border, and I think we should deport people who are here. Not
You let a bunch of frog-faced idiots call you a cuck? Okay.
Get to work!
By the way, screenshot. Because I don't know what he got going on over here on the right, boy. I might change the thumbnail again.
illegally, but have stricter immigration, period. That's not a new view for me. So yeah, I could see though how people, if it was under false sort of pretense, with Daily Wire, here's what I experienced. Now, I don't know about your timeline. I know Cassie Dillon posted some receipts saying like this is not accurate, but I would imagine you were giving general timelines and people to sort of paint a picture, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah. With Daily Wire, what would happen is, being demonetized on YouTube, they created a new rule, borderline content, because they couldn't fully remove me. Sorry about that. It was a third rule specifically because I had a lawyer and planned for this. I would get into conversations with Google executives, people at YouTube, and especially as we got toward COVID and the vaccine, right, questioning that, or the lockdowns, I would have people very high up at Google, YouTube say, well, we don't have these kind of problems with Daily Wire. And I said, well, I'm not. And without getting into any private information, there were conversations that took place, and that was something that really rubbed me the wrong way. It was sort of, you'll kill us last, right? And they famously bragged about spending more money on Facebook and Google than anyone else. And then there was pressure being applied from YouTube to sort of step in line. So I can corroborate that was something I experienced behind the scenes, if that helps illuminate it all.
Yeah, and I remember it very well. I remember the apocalypse, and I remember your tiff with them. I remember you going on Tim Pool. I remember the whole thing. And I've heard that. Even I'm not connected. I'm not tapped in at all. I was radioactive for so long, but even I had heard rumors that they had made deals with Google behind the scenes or Facebook, and it's well known they were like the number 2 advertiser on Facebook, like number 2 overall,
right.
not like among conservatives, period, for many years. And so, even notwithstanding the Israel stuff, nobody knows the fact that they were kind of the beneficiaries of a monopoly in the sense that like all their competition got banned. Anybody that was dissident, anybody that was controversial, basically was no platforms, not deplatformed, no platformed.
Yeah.
And I think you got caught up in that as well. I remember pretty well.
Their contracts require it. And by the way, I was never the one to release. Just to be clear, there are some people there who I'm friends with. Jeremy Boring was never one of them. The contract necessitated it, right? Where they would penalize their own creators. I believe it was 25% for the first YouTube suspension, 15% more, another 50. If you read the contract, 15% for Facebook suspension. And so my issue wasn't the money. My issue was like, well, first off, this would be 110% penalties for me because I'm literally suspended from all these places right now. But this is de facto doing the bidding of big tech. And that's the reason for it. I didn't like being put in that position, but yeah, so I can understand it. I can understand why a young guy would feel betrayed or feel hung out to dry. And I think that might explain it quite a bit, even if we disagree with your views. Like I told Ben Shapiro in 2016, 2017, I don't think we should be giving any money to Israel. Now, unlike you, I support them over Hamas morally, but I think we should stop funding all sides of the war in the Middle East. And hopefully you find that a reasonable position, whether you agree with it or not. I don't think that's extreme. And Ben didn't seem all too bothered by it. But I also invited him to be on the show, and he was going to, and he disappeared. But I just saw him on with Don Lemon and David Pakman. So I guess they're not so abhorrent.
That's interesting. So he agreed to come on, but then he canceled?
Yeah, it was just sort of informal, by text. And then I just haven't heard back from him. He's been on the show many times. So I'll give you credit, Nick. Candace, Tucker, Ben, Mark, everyone invited on. You're the only one with the balls to show up. I have to give you kudos for that.
Yeah, no.
Okay, because you all got the script.
Why do you feel a necessity to insult people?
Again.
Is that
where's the script? Where's the script? Read the script.
Is this a big defensive thing that you've got?
Read the script.
Why don't you read your own script?
The script is to get this man on mainstream media. It wouldn't surprise me the first week of January, Jesse Waters has him on Fox News. If he does well on Piers Morgan. The game is rigged. We know this. And the pendulum swings both ways. Y'all are about to legitimize this little half-breed white supremacist. And then he's going to go rogue like Candace. But here's the thing. You ain't going to be able to stop him. So you can silence Candace because you can use black people bad. How are you going to stop a half Mexican, half white boy? Explain that to me. Such a shame. They don't even get what they're doing. They're so desperate for voices because they know they're going to get their ass kicked next year that they're literally going to use a 25-year-old who knows nothing about politics. This is the same dude who said there was no written language in Africa when he could have did a 10-second DuckDuckGo search and would have had every written language in Africa before Europe showed up. But, you know, this is the people that platforms this idiot and think they're going to get a great conversation. Must be nice.
Oh, and I appreciate, even though you didn't call me out, I saw the clip.
Well,
because
I knew you would show up. You're like the candy. You're like the candy man. I say your name 3 times in the camera. You'll show up. No, but we did reach out. I said we didn't want to because we didn't want it to be a conflict. We had already communicated, or my producer had, and I didn't want to call you out as though you were ducking. Those other people have been ducking.
Oh yeah, totally fine. No, and I'm here, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And you know, I think we agree on. You know, maybe this is going to sound like I'm kissing your ass a little bit, but I do always feel like you were less bad than all the other people in the conservative movement.
That's high praise.
Well, and I know that sounds lame, but I mean, you know, during the Groyper War, I know the Groyper showed up to your events.
This ain't for you, Nene. It's for them.
Pause.
He paused.
I said pause, nigga. Mind you, LeBron is spending $2.5 million on his body. Pause.
I would give it to Barkley. Pause. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, but I'll let you go. Pause. It's a luxury to have a big man. Pause. They gave him the soft one. The hard one. Pause. Pause, nigga.
And I remember thinking, like, Crowder's he's not even really bad on many of the issues, like Daily Wire, even like Turning Point was 6 years ago. They got a lot better in the intervening, you know, maybe the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But no, but I always think you have balls. So well, I think you're one of the more creditable people in the con.
Well,
kind of scene.
Well, come on, don't put me in that scene. That's the thing. I'm not in that scene at all. I've been rejected by that scene, just maybe not quite like, but quite a bit. I mean, I said the N-word on Piers Morgan. That counts for something. I will.
And like clockwork, it goes right back to black people.
Smack! Who is this nigga?
What is you bringing up the N-word? Jesus Christ. Oh boy, it's funny you'll say it on film on that man, but you won't go to the real parts of Austin, Texas, where you at to go say that word. Go to Dallas with that "you so tough." Oh my God. He did it again. He did it again. What is with this face? Over here looking like Dan Connor. What is going on?
We'll say this though. Yeah, there was a. Did you encourage the Groypers to go, or was that their own thing? That's just to clear the air.
You know, I don't know. It was so long ago. You were not one of our major campaigns. We were really focused on Turning Point. So you might have been on the calendar. We threw together a calendar and said, these are all the speaking events in the fall. But we were really focused on Charlie Kirk more than anybody.
All right. Well, then could you give me where that you're not going to send them to like stand-up events going forward?
Well, I didn't send anybody to a stand-up thing.
Well, I was just basically I was dressed like Che Guevara, like it was a Halloween. It wasn't the same kind of thing as Ben Shapiro.
I love the fact that you brought that up, Steven Crowder. I love the fact that you dressed up like Che Guevara, you know, the left's hero. Sir, so you like dressing up, huh? Really? We found something.
You know, Let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
You want to tell us something, man? I'm just asking for friends. I'm going to let y'all have that. I see where old Tiny Tranny gets his inspiration from. YouTube video where you dress like a woman. You dress like a woman on International Women's Day. You dress like a activist. This here. Why are you dressing like a woman so much? What's going on, sir? Were you confused back then? I just want to know. Why were you so confused? I'm just asking. This is crazy. A wig is one thing. Looking for a dress in your size, that's something else. I'm just saying. But you got it. We don't judge.
It might have been Brett Kavanaugh with a beer helmet. Like, it's not the same kind of show.
Sure. Yeah, no, I won't send anybody
okay,
your
all
way.
right.
I promise.
Because here's a funny story before we get into it. Because the Groypers back then, they kind of had like rankings. Do you remember that? Do you remember this? Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
who could forget?
Okay. So you do remember. So I'm glad we're able to talk about this because, and by the way, we'll post all the videos and links like references in the description. So if we have a clip or people can see the whole context. I believe it was at SMU, and I knew they were coming because I was posted on this calendar. And so again, the same way Infiltrated Infa, I knew every single one of them. And I knew they had rankings. I don't remember, maybe it was like Private Admiral, something like that. But here's how I kind of also, it was a little bit of a mind trick. So you'll appreciate this. It was nothing super bad. I said, okay, everyone who agrees with me, you line up on this side of the auditorium. It was like 2,500 seats. Everyone who disagrees here, we're going to go 1 and 1. And I saw all the Groypers line up and they were supposed to go in a sequence, like private to general. The last second before we go, we have to change something in the venue. And we swapped the lines so that the wrong guy went first. And I remember in your groups back then, or not your groups, but whatever, the Groyper, a Facebook group, one of them said, did you see I asked a question last night? And they were like, you were a stuttering, disgraceful fool. You are not amongst us. And they booted him. They drummed him out of the court, and then I was off the list.
So, I remember we had generals. We didn't have, maybe they did that on their own. We had generals, and it was sort of tongue in cheek. We were a little ironic about it, but no, but I remember the tricks you guys were pulling. That was pretty, that was pretty clever. I'll give you that. It was pretty clever. That was a good counteroffensive. You
were tricking and we were tricking. And the truth is, I just wanted to do some fun stuff. All right. So since we got through that, look, America first. I identify as a conservative, as a nationalist. I wear that since it became a pejorative. I thought that was sort of a default thing for America. So you wouldn't hear me saying nationalist until people were like, nationalist means you're a supremacist. I'm like, well, okay, well then I'm a nationalist. Now I have to claim it because of course I want America to do best.
You're a Canadian. Be quiet.
Since I know very clearly America first, let me ask you, what do you love most about America?
Well, I love that we're a superpower. I love that because I really do believe that, when you look at the history of Western civilization, I love the idea of an empire. I love the idea of the Roman Empire, the Spanish Empire, British Empire. And I love the idea that we just have this crazy productive.
Nobody finds it strange that he mentioned 2 Latin empires when discussing America first. That son of a bitch is going to be outside in front of ICE protecting the Latinos.
You want some more?
We might have more. I would not be surprised if this man does a whole segment or series where he dresses up as a Latino when ICE come running in to go get his cousins up out these jobs and he protects them.
You want some more?
We might have more. I would not be surprised if Nick Fuentes starts doing some of his shows in English and Spanish, no dubbing.
You want some more?
We might have more. Nick Fuentes is going to destroy MAGA. And we're cool with that. Because they're over there worried about Candy so much, they're not worried about Nikki.
You want some more?
We might have more. This man is over here. He's gonna start saying, "Never mind, never mind. We're not gonna go." He gonna start acting like he is what was his name? Cortez, Juan Carlos. What? Yeah, Cortez. He was just all over the Spanish Inquisition, taking out the indigenous, because he's gonna think he's a white Spaniard.
You want some more?
We might have more. This Nick Fuentes boy. You was in a Latin city called Chicago. And before y'all get mad, Black Americans, just hear me out. Because that's the only reason why Chicago got a lot of attention the last 2 years, because of the Latin population. It's funny that he always wants to talk about how violent Black people are, but then you go to Little Village and they over there just busting guns at each other. But he ain't got no words for them because he's over there eating the chili rellenos like it's going out of style.
You want some more? Do you? All right, bim, bam, boom. Somebody get this nigga out of my way.
You said don't forget the sombrero? Nah, well, I don't know if they made one with a MAGA on it yet. He probably making the ones for America first. So, you know, that sombrero dance might hit hard though. I ain't gonna hold you. But let's get back to this debacle.
Of capacity, huge population, huge resources. I like the power of America. That's something I've really been liking a lot lately.
Okay.
The power of America, the same power that's dwindling every day to bricks. Okay. You like that. So Nick Fuentes likes losers. Good.
And of course, we don't want to take that for granted. Obviously, the power of America, like that switches in a nanosecond as far as history. Is there anything else that stands out just aside from the power? I mean, if not, we can move on to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I love political liberty. I like the Constitution. I like our culture. I like that we're like a pain.
You mean the same Constitution they're trying to kick everybody out that's not white? Sir, you're not going to be able to stay. They're going to send you to Guadalajara. By the way, screenshot number 3. These are some weird facial and hand motion. Why does Steven Crowder look like he got 2 lazy eyes? And I'm not even going to say the other word because that'd be kind of fucked up, but we're going to continue.
And European empire. I like that, because when you compare us to Europe, you look at Europe and it's sort of petty and small and they're squabbling and they're fighting, between these like little towns and villages. And I like that there's just like this sense of nationhood in America between European Christians.
Somebody said they love Nick. So you love him getting beaten up by women. Okay. All right. I mean, that's fine. He damn near cried in front of them cops. All right, you like him. Well,
Christian people and other people too, of course. But for the most of our history, it was mostly the Europeans. But,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things I like about America.
Yeah, I would already disagree with you because I was raised in Quebec, which is much more European. And I think Europe kind of sucks. I'm not a big...
Why?
Well, because there's far less freedom. I mean, Quebec and a lot of these European nations, they had an enforced denominational form of Christianity.
There's a lot less freedom in Europe. Where they do that at? Huh? I didn't know there's loss of freedom in Europe. What freedom did they lose in Europe? How many motherfuckers was running over there because they were so sexually liberating over there? You go to Amsterdam, you can smoke some weed. You go to London and get a strumpet on the high street for pennies on the dollar. Where are these rights and these privileges that are not afforded to you in Europe? Okay, all right. Says the guy that's never been to Europe. He's telling you that. Say less.
Which didn't work out. That breeds atheism. I believe that Quebec is possibly the most unchurched population in the industrialized or Western world, even though Catholicism was a state-enforced, provincially enforced denomination. I think we're better than Europe. That's why we left. But I do understand that the founders, obviously, were largely white, Christian, European.
Whoa, here comes that immigrant talk. So if Canada was so great, why did you leave? Canada won the NBA title in 2019. Why were you not up there celebrating? Now, I know you're still pissed that the Expos became the Senators into the Nationals. I'm just saying. I know you're still pissed off about that. I know you're pissed that the Vancouver Grizzlies went to Memphis, and Memphis are real ones. They went from Bears in the Evergreens to Bears with guns. I understand. Shout out John Morant. But you got to get over that. Y'all got hockey. Even though y'all let the Florida Panthers own you. And Toronto can't sniff a Stanley Cup. We understand. But you should embrace your homeland. It's okay. Let's continue.
I mean, Protestant, obviously, I know you and I we'll quibble about that, but that is the basis here. It doesn't mean that Catholics aren't welcome. But let me ask you, what about the founding, like founding fathers? Is that something? Because I know you have opinions kind of on both sides of that, and I think they're more nuanced. But is that a big part of what you like?
I love the founding fathers. I think they're brilliant. I love George Washington. I love Hamilton. I like John Adams. I think they're remarkable people. So yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So you love
political liberty.
Got it.
Can you kind of explain, I guess, that a little bit? Because that's where I know you've said that you differ with conservatives, and I don't want to mischaracterize you. I understand you've said that you're not quote unquote conservative. That's not you identify as America first. So political liberty, what does that mean?
I would say I'm more reactionary than conservative. That's why I don't mean when I say I'm not conservative that I'm something else. And so, as far as political liberty goes, I like that in our country we have a generally permissive climate. I think, of course, that's gone too far in some ways. But I do like that we have a free press. I like that we have the right to own guns. I am a capitalist. I'm not an ideological free market person, but I like that we have private property. I like we can own what we earn. And on some level, I like that we have a republic. I'm very into the idea that we have Republican sovereignty, that we have rights. They're protected by God. The Constitution respects that also. Okay. And I would say, because I could kind of see maybe, I don't know if you're comfortable with this, if I could go a little further here.
I mean, look, yeah, go wherever you want. And as long as you're comfortable with me disagreeing and understanding that it's meant to be fair, but I'll let you know where I do.
Yeah, because maybe I could see where you're going with this. I'm really not like a totalitarian. I don't want a police state, to the extent that people say these things about me, like you're a fascist, you're a communist or a socialist. I'm very much not in favor of that sort of thing. I just think that, in the past 30 years, we've gone a little bit too far in the other direction. That's all.
No, and I wouldn't disagree with that last part, by the way. For example, I think it's very reasonable to say, you know what, maybe OnlyFans isn't a good thing. When you have libertarians going, oh yeah, if they ask for identification to prove you're of age to get pornography, the next thing you know, they're going to take your guns away. I'm like, I think that being 18 to get hardcore pornography kind of makes sense. So if addressing the hardcore libertarian sort of ideology, I would agree. If it goes towards like a theocracy or something like that, which I know you've discussed, I would disagree. And look, I want to play this because, of course, everyone's going to ask me to ask you this about the Tucker Stalin clip. So what I want to do is play it, and then I know that you've already explained it more recently. I want to play a longer clip in context and then give you the floor, because otherwise people say, why did he softball him and not ask about Stalin? Here's the clip for those who haven't seen it from Tucker Carlson.
So it was like late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday. Oh, I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin?
Mm-hmm. Always an admirer. But we don't need to go into that.
Well, that's...
You're a fan of Stalin. Keep going.
Okay, let's get back. We'll circle back to that.
And then he called you a gay fed. No, I'm kidding, but pretty much that's what he did.
And by the way, Nick sat there and still took it. But okay, go ahead.
People are mad at him for softballing. I think he didn't. I think that would be fair to press. I just think he was fundamentally dishonest in a lot of ways, because the second you left, it was a different Tucker again. Is that a fair assessment? I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, 100%. And I had the same experience with Candace. I went out there because him and I had beef. Me and Tucker had been privately and then publicly beefing for years. And, he called me on the phone over the summer and we talked a little bit. And then somebody arranged, Alex Jones was a part of it and somebody else kind of put this together. I went out.
Wait. Alex Jones was the mediator?
He was.
You do kiss and make up. All right, come on, it's enough. I mean, I can't imagine him being the middle ground, but okay.
Nick,
he's a sweet guy.
Nick, I have a question. We're gonna go back a little bit. You said something.
You know, they're going to take your guns away. I'm like, yeah, I think that being 18 to get hardcore pornography kind of makes sense. So if addressing the hardcore libertarian sort of ideology, I would agree. If it goes towards like a theocracy or something like that, which I know you've discussed, I would disagree. And look, I want to play this because, of course, everyone's going to ask me to ask you this about the Tucker Stalin clip. So what I want to do is play it and then
more than anybody.
All right. Well, then could you give me word that you're not going to send them to like stand-up events going forward? Tricking, and we were tricking, and the truth is I just wanted to do some fun stuff. Sure. All right. So since we got through that, look, America first. I identify as a conservative. To me,
believe that, you know, when you look at the history of Western's production.
Is there anything else that like stands out to you aside from the power? I mean, if not, we can move on to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I love political liberty. I like the Constitution. I like our culture. I like that we're like a pan-European empire. I like that, you know, because when you compare us to Europe, you look at Europe and it's sort of petty and small and they're squabbling and they're fighting, you know, between these like little towns and villages. And I like that there's just like this sense of nationhood in America between European Christian people and other people too, of course. But for the most of our history, it was mostly the Europeans. But,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things I like about America.
Yeah, that's what I would already disagree with you because I was raised in Quebec, which is much more European, white Christian European. About part of what you like.
I love the Founding Fathers. I think they're brilliant. I love George Washington.
Kind of explain, I guess, that a little bit, because that's where I know you've said that you differ with conservatives. And I don't want to mischaracterize you. I understand you've said
when I say I'm not conservative, that I'm something else. And so, you know, as far as political liberty goes, I like that in our country, we have a generally permissive climate. I think, of course, that's gone too far in some ways. But I do like that we have a free press. I like that we have the right to own guns. I am a capitalist. I'm not an ideological free market person, but I like that we have private property. I like we can own what we earn. And on some level, I like that we have a republic. I'm very into the idea that we have Republican sovereignty, you know, that we have rights. They're protected by God. The Constitution respects that also. And I would say, because I could kind of see maybe, I don't know if you're comfortable with this, if I could go a little further here.
Sure. I mean, look, yeah, go wherever you want. And as long as you're comfortable with me disagreeing and understanding that it's meant to be fair, but I'll let you know where I do.
Yeah, because maybe I could see where you're going with this. You know, I'm really not like a totalitarian. I don't want a police state. You know, it's
bingo. I like how you said that, Nikki. Nikki. You say you don't want a police state. A famous cousin of yours had a very famous line that is still in media to this day. You got some splaining to do.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern.
What this be? Nick Fuentes talks about what day one would look like when he's president. I'm bringing the National Guard everywhere in the major cities and taking away women's right to vote. But you don't want a totalitarian government. I wonder what he said. Let's look.
Would you run for president?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I could ever win because I'm too offensive. I'm too provocative. But assuming I did, and if I won, I would immediately. Here's the role of the president. The president is the chief law enforcement officer of the country. That's really the goal. The executive is to execute the laws that are passed by Congress. And what is happening right now is, of course, the nation's in open rebellion. We have a criminal illegal alien population of maybe 40 million people. We don't even know. I mean, it could be 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 million illegal aliens here. And they all have to be returned. At the minimum, many of them, tens of millions of them have to be returned because they have no legal standing here. Well, what happens when you try to do this? You see what's happening in Broadview here in Illinois. You get riots, you get protests, you get the mayor and the governor resisting. You got to go in and arrest those people too. What else is happening?
Oh, I thought you didn't want a totalitarian state. Now you're arresting politicians. I don't really have a problem with that, but that kind of contradicts what you just said on Steven Crowder's show. But continue. I'm sure you're going to clarify this.
In Chicago and New York and LA. Rampant crime, chaos, murder. There was a story last night. Somebody drove a stolen car through the window of a luxury store and did a grand theft in the store and got away. And this happens all the time in Chicago. So if I were president on day one, I'm bringing the National Guard everywhere. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of National Guard in all the major cities.
Oh, sounds like a police state. Oh, well. There you go. But you say you don't want the police state. Yeah.
To the extent that people say these things about me, like you're a fascist, you're a communist, or a socialist, I'm very much not in favor of that sort of thing. I just think that, in the past 30 years, we've gone a little bit too far in the other direction. That's all.
No, and I wouldn't disagree with that last part, by the way. For example, I think it's very reasonable to say, you know what, maybe OnlyFans isn't a good thing. When you have libertarians going, oh yeah, if they ask for identification to prove you're of age to get pornography, the next thing you know, they're going to take your guns away. I'm like, yeah, I think that being 18 to get hardcore pornography kind of makes sense. So if addressing the hardcore libertarian sort of ideology, I would agree. If it goes towards like a theocracy or something like that, which I know you've discussed, I would disagree. And look, I want to play this because, of course, everyone's going to ask me to ask you this about the Tucker Stalin clip. So what I want to do is play it. And then I know that you've already explained it more recently.
That he has done since then. He doesn't say my name without calling me an anti-Semite. He's going and doing the circuit, and every show that he goes on, he says, Nick is really talented and this and that, but I don't agree with his anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. And I'm like, okay, so where was that during the dinner? Where was that during the show? I didn't hear that during the whole thing. I'm an anti-Semite now. And I wish he would have brought that up during the discussion, because I would have loved to discuss that or to dispute that or whatever. But it's like you said, I got a completely different Tucker after the fact in all these other shows. He's going around and telling everybody, that like it's the making of a murderer.
Right.
Like I could see why people like him, even though he's
like
so awful.
Like you're the Averys. Yeah, you got them Jews there. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Candace will make another show about that like 9 years later. Okay, so that's she did like something about making a murderer. I was like, what is this? Like, this is very light. Okay, but going back to that's the clip that people say, ask him about Stalin. And I would have, in Tucker's shoes, asked you about Stalin. Now, I've seen you on another show explain it more recently. And I can't play the whole clip because it'll be really long, but I want to play a longer one and then allow you to provide any missing context. I can't remember the name of this, something Danny B, Johnny G, play it.
Tommy G.
Tommy G, I was close.
You have some hilarious moments, but there was a moment from the Tucker Carlson interview I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
You mentioned Stalin. You're a fan of his work?
Yes.
Was that serious or a joke?
That wasn't a joke. But, it's like anything else. I love history and I love stories. And to me, Joseph Stalin is an extremely compelling figure. I would say more, you'd be surprised to hear this, than Hitler. Everybody pegs me as like a Hitler guy. I'll tell you, and I'm not saying this to pander. I'm not saying this, because I care about what you think of me. I really don't even know that much about Hitler. I never found Hitler to be that interesting. I think that there's narratives about Hitler that are interesting. In America, if you talk a certain way about certain issues, they say you're a Nazi, you're Hitler. So it's interesting in that way. But for me, Stalin is the far more compelling figure. And I say that because, while everybody focuses on Hitler, Stalin is a person who takes Russia, which is the most backwards country in Europe at the beginning of the 20th century, serfs and peasants and just all around immiseration and poverty. He takes a country like this, and by the time he dies, it's a nuclear empire. It's a global superpower. It's like the most unbelievable story in the history of mankind. And so I don't think he's a good person. He's an evil person. He's one of the villains of history. But in terms of his effects, he's an effective ruler. And I think that's interesting.
Okay. Now that clip goes on, we'll make the link available. I don't want to do an interview where everyone's watching you watch you. But so with that, and I was asked about this on Piers Morgan. And again, asked to condemn, Stalin. I said, look, I don't know. He could have meant, and by the way, I don't know if you have a cold. I have a halls in my throat right now. I notice everyone's a little bit sniffly. I said, he could have been saying he's fascinated. Like, for example, I've been going.
We got another one. Rare Crowder W.
Uh-oh. Haven't been to the show, so you wouldn't know what it is to win.
He said this is a win. What? I've debunked 3 of this guy's talking points already. And we didn't even hit the hour mark yet. But this is a win. Oh, Lord. Boy, y'all are damn. We see why the right wing is going to get trounced next year. This is who y'all follow. All right.
a rabbit hole of Stalin versus Trotsky, like how much they hated each other, which would seem odd to us because they're very similar. The spoiler alert is two assholes fighting. That's pretty much all it is. And I would be curious to ask him about that. So when people say disavow without having the full context, I think that's wrong. Now, that said, my question to you would be, I know that you have said we need a Catholic theocracy or a Christian theocracy. I've heard the word dictatorship, correct me if I'm wrong. So I would ask you, since the end point seems much more similar to where Stalin reached, just swap atheism for Catholicism or Christianity, would you be able to name, or is there any one thing that you think America, like concretely, should copy about Stalin's rule or methods to get there?
Listen,
not his methods, because like I said, he's an evil person, or a murderer, and genocidal.
But you just said that you admire what he did, or did we get that wrong too? By the way, screenshot number, I think this might be 4.
With the famine, I mean, I think this pretty clearly intentional that they were trying to kill all those people there, and so I want to make that clear. Sometimes I feel like it's almost childish, and I'm not saying that about this interview, but just in general, when people say, "Wait, but he was a bad guy," it's like, I know he's a bad guy. Like, I know he was evil. And I suppose the thing that I find maybe more compelling about Stalin as a ruler is the way that he industrialized the country. I'm very interested in this because that is, among the other things that I talk about, a very important problem in the country is that we're deindustrialized. Yeah. And what Stalin did, and I said that in that clip and in other clips too, he takes a country that has no industry and he literally, and with brutal, evil methods that I would not, I don't replicate, I don't support that, but he does take the country and drag it into the 21st century. And he does that by bringing in heavy industry. The 5-year plans, the collectivization of the farms, it was about prioritizing heavy industry so that they could eventually build ships and planes and tanks and, the things that they needed to fight the war. So,
but it was about seizing industry, and it was about doing it by force. I mean, secret police, the party purges, the show trials. So, say the industrialization of the country. How do you separate that from? I mean, the only methods were largely evil, or certainly his calling card methods, right? That's where people would say, okay, if you point to him as an example, is there anything worthy of emulating other than, because you could point to other countries.
Good God. Sir, you just got here, or ma'am, or it. We don't discriminate. The man literally said he admired Stalin. Now he wanted to clean it up because he got called out on it. That's not what we're going to do. And it's not the first time he said it. He also said it on Tucker. I'm sorry. We're not in the business of admiring people that commit genocides just so they can bring a country to the forefront of a new century. I'm sorry. But fine. Just miss that part.
Industrialized, including the United States.
Well, I don't think that is necessary. I think because it starts with the idea that a country, an empire needs industry. You need to be able to make things. We don't make things. We don't even make the machines that make things anymore. China makes all the things. And so starting from the idea where Stalin says in the 20s, he says, we're either going to do in 15 years what it would normally take us 100 years to do, or we're going to die. Our country will not exist anymore because we are encircled. And I feel like America's in sort of a similar position where we need to race ahead of China or else we are going to be destroyed. We need industry back in the country. And I don't believe in taking grain to feed the factory workers and enslaving people in gulags, but I do think the government needs to set. It's sort of like when JFK said, we're going to go to the moon in 10 years. I like the idea, this ambitious idea of we're going to catch up in 10 years. We're just going to go out there and do it. We're just going to build it. And I don't support, killing people. I don't think you need to kill people to achieve that, but I like the idea of urgency, setting targets, having a national strategy.
Well, since you want to talk about low IQs, DS, here's an idea. So I guess you like what Zhou Enlai and Mao Zedong did too, right? Because they helped bring China into the 21st century. I'm sure you're cool with that too, right? I'm sure you're cool with what Hitler did, right? I'm sure you are cool with what Napoleon did, so France could be on the same level of superpower like every other superpower since the 1500s, right? But let's see. If the Democrats did this, I'm sure you'd be outside saying, no, this is no good. You're right. You should shut up. Y'all know what to do.
Smoke wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
See? Some things. Oh. So eliminating entire civilizations just for prosperity is a good thing. Cool. Then I ain't got no problem with what the Democrats are doing. You shouldn't either, right? That's what I thought. Oh, that's fine. If you can't snipe, I'll do it for you. Let's let the Democrats go on a whole genocide, see if they don't change their tune. Because maybe they'll put $1,000 in your pocket every week. Now you'll excuse it. Okay.
And and doing it for the sake of power projection.
Well, and I agree, by the way, industrialization, right, is good. We went through that in America quite a bit before Russia. The reason they had to play catch up is because it was an awful place and they had to do it by force. So my question is, am I mischaracterizing? And everything that I ask is genuine here because I'm trying to see where we disagree. Because I think Stalin is a fascinating historical character. You're talking to, we did the great Diktatov, where we did brackets for 3 days of Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao. Funniest one was Papadoc in Haiti because he sucked Pinochet, who wasn't all wrong. And we were very clear about this. And I think Mao ended up winning. Might have been Pol Pot, although the number wasn't as high, but he was just really dumb and really brutal, which is a bad combination. How could you get, if we're talking about now, to Stalin's industrial results without Stalin's methods? If you want to get to a Catholic, first off, have you said Catholic theocracy? Is that, am I misquoting?
I might have said it, but I don't believe in a Catholic theocracy. I think that the government should be Christian, but not a theocracy.
Okay. Not a dictatorship either.
We might need a very powerful executive for a short amount of time. I think that's maybe unavoidable.
Okay.
But not an ideological totalitarian state. No.
So how do you get to that in the industrialization that you talk about with Stalin? How do you get it? How do you get there?
I think that you need tariffs. I think you need subsidies. I think you need a massive public works program, something like the New Deal. And I know.
So you need Democrats. That's what he's saying. Nuance. Oh, you need nuance. Oh, okay. Let's play that game, old stock Canadian, since you want to play nuance. So Trump dropping bombs in the Middle East, that's wrong. But him giving $1 trillion to the same Middle East he just bombed is okay, right? So use your tax money to bomb a place, but then give them money after you bomb it. Because they're saying they're going to bring investment over here, even though their investment history has not been good. Oh, you want to play nuance. Oh, what's the nuance when Biden was giving Ukraine money? Tell us the nuance in that. I would love to know what the nuance was for that. What was the good that came out of that? That was your tax money. That was my tax money. What was the nuance? By the way, screenshot number 5. Tell us. Go ahead, DS. Explain that one.
Well, you're probably not a fan of that because I know you're a huge free market guy, but I think that one of the things the free market doesn't do well is...
Oh, and there it is. Thank you for explaining how dumb you are. Thank you. There was no nuance. It was wrong. Nothing was afforded for America out of that. I'm glad you said that. Nothing that Trump is doing with the Middle East is affording America any opportunities. And the faster y'all figure that out, the faster you'll realize that you got duped for your vote. Because they have your data in the desert now, and you'll never be able to access it. Just like they have your data in Israel. But because it was the Democrats, oh, there was no nuance. That was just wrong. Thank you. And by the way, since you didn't know, that's the same region. So tell me how America with the Middle East is supposed to move us forward.
It doesn't allocate resources efficiently on like a long-term timeline. In a long-term timeline, America needs to have a ton of industry to be able to support its Navy, to be able to protect supply chains and trade routes. And the free market has...
Yeah, that's called AI, sir. That's why they're putting all the money in the computers. They think AI is going to run the economy, not realizing that AI is vulnerable and the bubble is about to burst. So, yeah. Let's not do American skilled labor no more. Let's put all our hopes and dreams into a computer. That's really smart.
Has not been able to accomplish that. So I think that the government needs to intervene in this case and basically say, like, we're not going to import these manufactured goods from China. We have to make them ourselves. We need to subsidize them. And maybe we bring people on, onto the dole of the state in a public works program to accomplish some of these things. So I believe in an intervention from the state to do that.
Public works program. Sir, we've seen the American Public Works Program. He just signed one, not Trump, Biden, signed one 3 years ago, and you had 2 major highways drop. You had East Palestine happen. And then people still suffering. You just had a chemical spill and chemical fire down here in Conyers, Georgia. Those lawsuits are going to be crazy. You have train derailments all over this country. But no, they want to build bike lanes. They want to slow down traffic in major cities, which is causing more traffic. But yeah, public works on an aging infrastructure. Okay. Go ahead, Nick. Tell us more with your wisdom. All of 25 years.
Well, okay. So, I understand. By the way, tariffs, I understand, and especially when you look at the revenue they'll be generating, I don't think that's an infringement of the free markets. I think it's a correction of an unfair market, of a market where we've been fleeced. So, I think we agree on that. Subsidies are massive public works. I mean, we have a debt. Is it 39 trillion? I haven't looked at the.
Sir, if you think America's getting Venezuela oil, you're really not paying attention. Venezuelan oil is already been projected. It can't help America. It can't. Oh, man. Trump got the Navy surrounding that country because he don't like Maduro, because Maduro cursed him out. It ain't about the oil. Because if it was about the oil, he would have done that in the first term. He didn't do it. Biden didn't do it. The only time he got tough in South America was with Brazil, when they got Lula up in there. That's when he got tough. And since you probably didn't know this either, your gas companies already told you that there's no point in pumping anymore because there's an oversupply with OPEC. So there's no point. Yes, they can up their forecast to say we're going to pump more out. It means nothing. It's an oversupply. People can't pay for it. People are not traveling like they used to. People are not going on the planes. They're not going on the ships. You can go fact check me right now. OPEC done told everybody in the world there's an oversupply. They want to sell their barrels at $75 a barrel. They can't do it. Why do you think Saudi Arabia and all them countries that he gave $1 trillion to are going into green projects? And if you don't believe me, you can go look that up. I've covered it on this channel. Saudi Arabia is playing the technological game now. Interesting.
The clock recently. So I certainly wouldn't say that we haven't been subsidizing things. We absolutely have, and we can't afford it. And the old joke, right, in Russia is they pay us to look like we're working, and we look like we're working. Like they look like they're paying us, we look like we're working. We've done this here in the States. I mean, if you go back to FDR, and maybe you're a fan of FDR's approach, certainly Barack Obama, the biggest modern spending package. I was around for that. Shovel-ready jobs.
Sir, again, or ma'am, or it, we don't discriminate here. You're not paying attention to what's going on out here. There's no conflict in the Middle East. They're all getting on code with each other. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. They're getting on code. They're fleecing America for trillions of dollars to build AI data centers in the desert because that's where the money is. They will be insulated when the bubble bursts. America and the West will not be. We are going to take a hit. And what's going to be the grift next? You're going to see a whole bunch of people running to the Middle East to go live, to go get their coins from. You're going to watch and see a whole bunch of influencers taking trips to the Middle East, talking about how great it looks. They're already pulling the Qatar grift now. You got influencers going to Qatar talking about it. I didn't know it was like this. The news got it wrong. I love how y'all still thinking in the 2000s that there's conflict in the Middle East. They're getting aligned with BRICS and ASEAN. Everybody's stopping the fighting because they know they're the next up to run the world. And BlackRock is also helping them do it, if you didn't know, and Vanguard and State Street and Affinity Partners, which is Trump's son-in-law's company. Gaza's for sale to the highest bidder. No more conflicts. Correct. We have the biggest reserves and nobody is being able to use them efficiently so we can go justify upping the price. Israel's going to get absorbed into the Middle East. That experiment had its over 75 years. It's no longer a viable option. Israel got to get with the program or they're going to get run over and it's going to become Palestine again.
Was awful. And same thing for Russia. I mean, if you throw enough bodies and human suffering at something, you can get something done. But even then, it was still significantly behind the world that was more free, the United States. So where have we not done it? Because I look at it and I go, well, we have been subsidizing almost everything. I agree with you on China. I agree with you on tariffs. I think that's a huge threat. What would that look like?
Well, I don't think we've been subsidizing industry. I'm not saying just like subsidies across the board. I mean, we need to actually subsidize and prioritize the industries that we need in the country. So like, for example, the CHIPS Act, I think that was a great thing. I don't think it was enough and I don't think it was comprehensive, but I want more things like that. Like there's no...
CHIPS Act was contingent on Taiwan being number one through the full use of that act. Malaysia is overtaking them right now. And Trump is going to sell out Taiwan. That's why he's starting to meddle in on what's going on over there. Malaysia is not part of the CHIPS Act.
Reason why, you know, they're doing it in Arizona. They're bringing TSMC over to Arizona. They're building a chip fabrication facility. We need that. And I think the government should give tax breaks or just straight up give subsidies to the companies that are going to do that. And I think that we need aggressive trade negotiations. I guess maybe where we differ ideologically is that I want a very smart government. I liked what Doge did. I like the idea of bringing people from the private sector into the government.
Oh, good God. Sir, they already do that. Your president is from the private sector. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, they're really about to bring up Doge. This should be fun. And Tammy?
Yes.
And even Trump said that in 16 to work on trade deals, to work on, for example, China steals all our intellectual property. They steal all of the developments that we have. We need people that know about technology almost in a technocratic way, like true experts guiding our trade policy, guiding in some ways our economic policy, setting a benchmark that it's like, we need like 10% of the economy or 50.
And he still hasn't signed that TikTok deal. So what does that tell you?
15 or 20% of the economy to be productive in 5 or 10 years. We need to be making ports, ships, or we need to have countries in our orbit that can do it for us, like South Korea or Japan. But we just need people that are in charge that are, kind of aware of this problem. So
South Korea and Japan. The same South Korea he just pissed off by deporting those workers who now are going to launch a massive over $1 billion lawsuit against the government. Them, Japan, whose own government said they don't know how they're going to fix this supposed investment, how they're going to fund it. Them, the same Japan who don't finish deals because they had one with Trump the first time and didn't finish it. But because they said 900 million, Jesus Christ. Japan is just coming out of a recession, sir. They were about to buy our rice just to make sure they had rice for their people until the patty started coming back up. Then they said, screw it, we don't need it. Now you're about to give them hella intellectual money to give Ford, Stellantis, and GM blueprints on how to make a small car because that's what Americans want. A small American car with a Japanese underbelly. This is y'all motherfuckers, boy. But y'all say y'all America first. Go ahead. You got it.
I guess that's maybe the difference.
No, I don't think that's the difference. I can outline maybe the difference based on what you just said. I don't have a problem with tariffs. I know what you're talking about with the CHIPS Act. I agree. And I think a big problem is, absolutely, Chinese stealing intellectual property. That's why I think they're a huge threat. What I see, I mean, then you could point though to like American auto manufacturing, which has been abysmal. I mean, industries that have been heavily subsidized. I mean, if you look at insurance industries, pharmaceutical companies, if you look at energy companies, I mean, you remember also about Solyndra, green energy companies.
Totally.
Every company that's been heavily subsidized and regulated tends to be less efficient and it tends to be more expensive. But we do need to protect certainly things that are, I would say that chips are a matter of national security. But my thing there is you say you like Doge. Well, I don't know why you think I would differ. That was largely, axing things. You just mentioned stuff that really for the first time has been done under this administration. And where we differ is I go, is it perfect? No. Is it a step in the right direction compared to Biden, compared to Barack Obama? Yeah. And then I know that you've also talked about having to burn it all down. So where I differ is, you've said you're reactionary, or I've heard you use the term maybe accelerationist. Well, accelerate toward what? Because if that's what you want, and I agree with you, we're getting more of that than ever before. So how would you get there and why would you burn down the progress that's being made?
Well, I'm not an accelerationist. I think that I think that's sort of misguided because if we're, and I agree with you, accelerating towards what? That's the operative question. So that's why I'm not an accelerationist. I think that to make things worse is only basically to vote in favor of chaos and death and potentially civil war, low-level political violence. And I think you're rolling the dice with that. So I'm with you on that. As far as the Trump administration is concerned,
can I pause you? And I don't want to interrupt, but like I said, I want to address kind of the points individually.
No, totally, yeah.
Okay, and hopefully you think this is fair because I really do want to be, and I know that I disagree with you on some fundamentals here, but you did say that Kamala Harris would be a better choice, and you did take billboards out against Donald Trump and told people not to vote in certain elections. That would be,
so by logic, he's saying that Kamala Harris was more America first than Trump, a Canadian. And y'all, you got folk over here that listen to this man every night. How are you a follower of this man that heard him say that? And y'all and say, how the hell are you over there on our side, but you caping for a Canadian who washed her greens in the bathtub? Say less.
Just maybe you didn't use the term accelerationist, but you said at least then that would sort of ignite what we need because it's a uniparty, it's all the same, right? So I view that as accelerationism. whereas I see where we agree, where we find progress, I would argue is better than 4 years of Kamala. And I would argue that we were at the precipice of really, we were looking at sending into the abyss 15 million on the low end, illegal aliens, and not to mention the legal immigration problem. Add another 10 million with Kamala Harris. We no longer have a country where you and I.
Well, sir, your Congress was still Republican controlled, so you actually had power to stop her. You could have made her look like one of the worst presidents in history, but you got Trump and gave him the keys to the kingdom, and now he's looking like the worst president in history. Isn't that funny? You elected a president that would rather wear a keffiyeh than a suit. Isn't that something?
I would both agree. So that's where I don't understand your position.
Yeah, well, let's sit in this for a minute. So first of all, and I just want to clarify, I know you know this, but maybe your audience doesn't. I never told people to vote for Kamala. I didn't vote for Kamala. I never told people to vote for Kamala. I didn't endorse Kamala.
Well, let's see if that's true, Nikki. Let's see. Because we heard you say it, but, you know, we probably got it wrong. You blamed the New York Post. What's this? You praise Kamala Harris. Huh? Seriously? She's a good candidate. I'm not going to lie, Republicans don't want to admit it. You said that? Now they're gonna say it's the Times of India. They're probably lying. There's probably lying. What's this?
White nationalist Nick Fuentes says if VP Kamala Harris wins in the upcoming election, well, they'll have an actual fascist as President Hitler.
And y'all still listen to this man who says two things on the same subject, both sides. But all right. You denounced Trump during the election cycle, and then when he won, you ran back over there. Okay. Let's see. Maybe they'll have the tweet that you wrote. Let's see. No. All right, that doesn't have anything. No. You're right, Nick. You didn't say it. You're right. Go ahead. He's right. He didn't say it.
Plan in 20, and again, as long as we're in good faith, I'm going to explain to you my thought process on this last year. It looked at one point like this was going to be a very contentious election, like it would be very close. It turned out not to be, and eventually it became clear that it wouldn't be. But it seemed like maybe this election would come down to one state, like Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, one of the three Rust Belt states. And my problem in 24 is that Trump was not promising an immigration moratorium. In fact, he was saying the opposite. He said that he would staple green cards to diplomas, which is a very famous policy. It's been around for decades, and Democrats and Republicans have said, we're going to give green cards to every foreign student. I said, that's a disaster. That's terrible. And then the other thing is there was a rumor that he had a quid pro quo arrangement with Miriam Adelson that he would allow Israel to annex the West Bank and intervene in the war with Iran.
Ricky Ross, I want you to keep a pin in that. Because we're gonna catch him into saying something else. He said something that I think you guys would be very interested in.
Iran. And so those are kind of my two issues. As I said, if we elect Trump, we're going to get all these Chinese and Indians. They're going to get green cards, and we're going to get H-1Bs because that's what Silicon Valley wants. And we're going to get a war with Iran. And so I looked at it this way. I said, if the America Firsters rise up and sort of tell Trump, here's the ultimatum. You can come out and say you're against the H-1Bs and the F-1 and green cards, and you could say you're not going to bring us to war in Iran, and we'll vote for you. But if you don't, we can't vote for you. And that was kind of the idea. It was like a contract with the Trump team. Now, ultimately, Trump became basically, his advantage grew to be so big that he wasn't worried about losing in one of those states. And I felt that way. I said, we don't have leverage anymore because he's leading by so much. It's clear he's going to win. And that's why we sort of abandoned it in the middle of it. But aside from, so that's where that came from.
Just to clarify, abandoned what?
Abandon that project, the Groyper War II, because we were going to go to Michigan and we were literally going to knock on doors and hand out leaflets and stuff. And we said, you know what, let's just not anymore because he's going to win anyway. So we bought.
Oh, so y'all didn't want to do the ground game to make sure that people understood what Trump's agenda was. And what happened, family? Almost 2 months later, after he won the election, what happened? What happened on that beautiful holiday that's coming up soon? That's going to be a year, and how fast a year goes. What happened a year ago? Damn near. Did we not have the old Christmas H-1B discussion where Elon and Vivek offered a Japanese cake were getting raked over the coals for saying that they need H-1B Indians over here and they need the talent so they could do all the computer jobs that Americans are too dumb to do? And who came outside and said that Elon was correct, that Vivek was correct? The person y'all went and voted for, who months later was the same one who said we need to keep the illegals here so they could work the farms or work the hotels and the restaurants. But you couldn't do nothing about it then, when you had the opportunity to press him about that. No, you had to go beat the Indian lady. And you knew that was his stance. Because it wasn't about you. It was about the corporations. Now you're stuck with it. That's why you got pissed when he said what he said in Des Moines, Iowa. Because you can't do nothing to him except tweet that he's an idiot. But okay. The white vote has doomed us all. Get to work! By the way, screenshot number 6.
One billboard.
You were going to knock on the doors and tell people to vote for Trump, the Groypers in Michigan?
Yeah, no, to sign on to something like a pledge that would say, we will not vote for Trump unless. That was kind of the idea.
Yeah.
And we sort of spun that up, but we abandoned it when it became clear that he would win.
Okay. And I understand that, by the way. I understand the idea of holding the representatives accountable. I mean, that's why we have primaries. But hopefully that's part of your strategy, because a lot of people just don't run in primaries, and that's a viable option. But I do remember what caught me off guard, you saying that Kamala Harris was a better choice. And I remember part of what you said was because Trump, if he's elected, legitimizes the system. And that would be worse. You didn't want Trump to be elected because it would legitimize the system. Explain what you meant by that, because that sounds to me like you want to delegitimize and almost revolution instead of Trump.
Well, and here's the thing. I think that Trump is obviously the better president if you're just taking like all the nominal figures, like fewer illegal.
What the hell happened? Hey, man, what the hell happened? Oh, hell no. Don't you start. Oh, Jesus Christ. Now the computer want to start playing.
The economy's going to be better. The government's going to be more efficient. We're in agreement on that. Here's the problem. And I try to make people think about it in these terms. It's sure. And I don't want this to sound like a cop-out, but I'm trying to get people to think, which is that Trump gets elected, and let's think about what happens on day number 2. Whereas in 2020, everybody said
we were told on day 2 that the grocery prices were going to go down and Ukraine and Russia were going to stop lobbing bombs at each other. That's what we were told. It's almost been a year. Grocery prices have not gone down. They're still lobbing bombs at each other, even though they're supposedly supposed to have a deal. But okay. By the way, screenshot number 7. I'm getting hella screenshots tonight.
Election is rigged. Like 86% of Republicans said, oh, the election was BS. Now
it was close to half of Democrats too, I think.
Yeah, it was substantial. It was across the board. Now nobody believes that. And whereas at one time people believed like, oh, like the system really needs to be overthrown. Like we really need radical change. Now they're saying, oh, Trump won. Oh, I feel relieved. Now we're okay. And look at the things that Trump has done. And we're going to get in. I can tell we're going to get into some of these things. The Epstein files, bombing Iran. And I'm not gish galloping. I'm just giving a little list of things I don't like. The H-1B visas, the 600,000 Chinese students.
Yeah.
All these things happen. And because they're happening under Trump, he is legitimizing them. And he's legitimizing the moneyed interests that are responsible for them. And I do think that deflates a lot of the fervor for change that exists.
No, you dumbasses thought he was 2016 Trump. You didn't want to listen to nobody like me when I was telling you he's not the same Trump that he was in 2016. He got a taste of that power and he liked it. He was going to sell y'all out. I told y'all this for damn near a year and a half. Don't vote for that man. You're not going to get the same guy you got the first time. And now you're seeing it play out. You got people on the right using the cover that they were using for Biden and Biden sexuals. Oh, he just got there. Give him a chance. No, we didn't give Biden a chance. Motherfucker was on his neck within 90 days. We were on Trump's neck within the first 100 days. That's what happens. That's how you hold a politician accountable. Don't make promises on the campaign trail you knew you were not going to do. And especially in a climate that you did not control, because BRICS was running rampant for 4 years and galvanizing the world to the point where we're at now. You can work within a framework, but you should have your own economies, and we'll help you prop them up. So that way you don't have to succumb to the West and whatever demands they have. They have to come to you now. And just like he had to go to Canada and Turkey for some eggs, just like he's going to Argentina for some beef. A decade ago, it would have been the other way around. We lost. And the faster you figure that out, the faster you can figure out how to insulate yourself and your family for when the fall comes. You're not going to be outside on the bread line.
Did before. And I just think sometimes, is that necessarily better in the long term? I don't disagree that Trump is, there's a very big pragmatic benefit, but in the long term, I worry about that.
Yeah, I definitely think it's better in the long term. And I agree with you completely on 600,000 Chinese students. I don't know if you saw, we did an entire hour on that. H-1Bs. I was throttled as a result from, well, I can't say Elon Musk directly, but I believe I perhaps called him a retard, whatever it was. I insulted him quite publicly. And, for my troubles, made $27 in the course of a month on X. Ashley Sinclair made like 26 grand in 2 weeks. Who knew, right? That's kind of odd.
Are you upset that his baby mama made some money? Might as well pay her through X so he don't have to give her none of his money, aka stock options, because that's what he gets paid in. You're upset you made $27? Thank you for legitimizing the video I did about the X payouts. Thank you. Foot and mouth disease, bourguignon. Who's ready for that? Who's ready for mad cow stroganoff? Who's ready for that? Listeria au poivre. Who's ready for that? E. coli sliders. Who's ready for that? Oh, but we got to have picanhas. All right.
Yeah, I agree with you on H-1Bs. I will tell you, worse than 600,000 Chinese students would be another 15 to 20 million illegals and changing the census rule, which is what we were looking at, where that redistricts the entire map. And there's no chance to any type of conservative, Republican, nationalist, populist being elected again. And I do think that there was a lot of progress made. I would go, a lot of wins, not only the board. 99% is not marginal to me as far as reduction. I think that's pretty significant. But I'd like to go to, I understand where you're coming from. I understand that perspective, but I also don't understand what the threshold is as far as, okay, burn it all down, or we want to delegitimize the system. Because I know we lived through that. Like you just said, Republicans thought it was an illegitimate election. I did as well. Not a whole bunch of folks at the Daily Wire back then. So I think we were on the same page.
You know what burning the system means. Vote everybody out in Congress. Get rid of the special interest groups. Get rid of AIPAC. Get rid of the lobbyists. Start fresh. A government for the people, by the people. You know exactly what that means. Y'all love talking about these politicians making hundreds of millions of dollars on a $174,000 salary. You could end that. But y'all are too scared to do it because you would have to be held accountable for the people that we pick if they screw around. And y'all don't want that because you never want to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. That's how you learn life's biggest lessons.
And I also, obviously, when we had the lockdowns, all of that, we then lived through 4 years of Biden, right? So
the lockdown, so he basically, this is another thing I was saying when nobody was here, and I was saying it on other social media platforms. You watched your government and the same people that are in there, some of them are still there. You watched them vote to shut down your country, and you didn't do nothing about that in 2020. It was just about making sure Biden don't get in. Who I'm sure were lobbying Democrats to shut the country down to make Trump look bad. Where were y'all voices when Trump was sitting there saying, I might just want to shut the borders, have no planes coming until we figure out what's going on with this disease that's over there in Asia? And y'all watched him kowtow to the goddamn liberals because they called him xenophobic. Y'all didn't fight for that man. And the reason you didn't fight, because even though everybody was locked down, they'd be in the house and they were going to need news. And they were at that point not trusting of the media because the Hunter Biden laptop came outside. You started hearing rumblings of it. So y'all knew people were going to tune into y'all. So you didn't want to fight that. And you enriched yourselves. Now you're crying because the pendulum is swinging the other way and people are starting to not care about what you guys say anymore. By the way, Steven Crowder, you're on a platform that is being held up by crypto money. For those who didn't know, Fidelity Investments may own a big share of Rumble because they're helping to finance it. But yeah, Crypto Bro came in there and dropped over $750 million in crypto to keep it afloat and to make sure investors buy the stock, which is trading at $7. And if that crypto go belly up, don't none of y'all get paid. And the app will go back to what it was pre-COVID. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Get to work!
it was already seen as not legitimate. We saw the results. I think the results of not electing another Biden is better. But I would like to roll a clip because I think it's in this vein and might help set it up. It was where you discuss.
Oh, so you don't want to elect another Biden. You went and elected another Reagan. Ain't that something?
Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's perfect. Pause. He paused. I said pause, nigga. Mind you, LeBron is spending $2.5 million on his body. Pause.
I would give it to Barkley. Pause. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, but I'll let you go. Pause. It's a luxury to have a big man. Pause. They gave him the soft one. The hard one. Pause. Pause, nigga.
Everybody give DSA a pause.
Oh, Epstein, too. That's one thing. Of course, I absolutely agree. I don't know if you know, I recreated the Epstein cell down to the millimeter and tried to hang myself with a force meter.
I saw that, yeah.
It's possible, not likely. So I thought it was a huge mistake. I think Pam Bondi's an idiot. And I mean actually like an idiot. Like she potentially could be a mongoloid using the term hate speech. She's a moron. And
but y'all were celebrating her. You see how they try to change it now? Y'all were celebrating her because she was from Florida. Matt Gaetz had to drop out because the teenage stuff came back out. They said, okay, we're going to go back to Florida. You picked up Red Flag Bondi, Baker Act Bondi, and y'all were praising her until her indiscretion started coming out. But she was, already selected. She was in front of the Senate. There was nothing you could do. You were hoping the Senate would have denied her, but they picked her. Now you got to deal with her. And one of her best statements was talking about taking away guns if they felt that you were mentally unstable, which we all know is a slippery slope because they always change the criteria every day. They'll say you're mentally unstable if you raise your voice. You can be labeled mentally unstable if you move your hands from your palm to the top of your hand. Like if you're looking if there's dirt on there. They'll take your guns. Your neighbor could hear you playing loud music and say that you might be harming yourself and get your guns taken. But y'all were cool with that because you thought it wasn't going to come out. Keep going.
I've always said that using the term, and that rollout was terrible. That doesn't undo the things that a lot of people who elected not just Trump, but the cultural wins that they want. I think there's a lot of good there, and I don't think burning it down is the best approach. But here you mentioned a new potential coalition, and I think sort of lay out a prescription as to how to go forward, and I'd like to ask you about it. And again, we'll make the link to the full show available so that no one mischaracterizes anything.
Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie working together against the interests to compel the files. What do you think that has? A 90% approval rating? If you had progressive Democrats and nationalist Republicans working together, let's say to compel the release of the Epstein files, what kind of approval rating do you think that has? 90%? And what if they got together and they opposed foreign aid to Israel? What approval rating do you think that would have? 90%? Do you think?
No, it would actually be lower because you have too many on the left that would went against Ro Khanna. But I love how Nikki, the way he's talking, he still don't even see it. He's literally saying what I was saying. The Republicans and Democrats are going towards the middle with each other, and they're going to unite to destroy MAGA. Not because MAGA is the change that America thinks it needs. No, because they don't want your cancer no more. You've outlived your usefulness. That's why a lot of y'all are trying to pivot to America First now. America First is moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans. You don't even realize it. You're going to be playing the same game. Y'all are going to be useful idiots to destroy MAGA. And then as soon as MAGA is destroyed, they're going to turn on you. They're going to call y'all the extremists. And it ain't going to be the left that's going to say it. It's going to be the right as well. Except at that point, you're not going to have MAGA or these other idiot right-wing areas or these idiot left-wing areas to go run to. Because I guarantee you, after that midterms, they're going to limit the voice of the far left. Because the Democrats need to win. And the Republicans need the Democrats to win. but y'all still haven't figured out that play yet.
Think that that Republicans or independents running under that brand, do you think that that would become more popular or less popular over time? 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. It snowballs. And we need to propel someone into the White House that is just a populist. If the right can come down on healthcare and on a social safety net and maybe on some subsidies for education, and if the left can come down on the anti-white open border stuff and they can agree that we have a country, that party will win 90% of the.
The fact he still thinks that the left is anti-white is hilarious. The right is anti-white. I'll help you, Nick. The right is anti-white. The left is pro people of color.
You said what?
And you still haven't figured that out yet.
Vote and rule for a century. That's the compromise. That's the populist compromise.
Okay, and I think you were, you articulated that pretty well. I would say Epstein already has a coalition. Everyone voted to release the files except Clay Higgins, who is a punchline, deservedly so. Like, that's the first time everyone knew Clay Higgins. Like, he really must love pedophiles. I wish I loved anything as much as he loves defending sex islands. I would like to hear your prescription for how that works, because I would say this: if the only compromise was the left on immigration, and if I believe that there was any semblance of a reality in which they compromise on immigration and compromising on free markets to varying degree, okay. But what do we do with a Ro Khanna on the Second Amendment, on the First Amendment, on transing the kids, on reparations that someone like a Ro Khanna or any member of the Democratic Party, but Ro Khanna specifically says is a priority economically and morally, on abortion? What do you do with all of the other compromises that aren't listed? How does that coalition work, and bring me through the end point?
I'll do it for you, because I know Nick's about to say something stupid. Ro Khanna is not going to be your vice president no more, because the left and the right have figured out that he's not a good play. So he'll get a cushy upper level cabinet job. But they're going to run somebody like Andy Beshear out of Kentucky, or Josh Shapiro, who's going to push that. And unless it's concrete, a lot of people are going to fall for it. Knowing what we know about these politicians, they're not going to do it. This is why if they do start talking about that, we've got to press them and say, we need something in writing. I'm going to say it again. The right's only hope of keeping power is to run DeSantis. You run JD, you're going to get destroyed. And it's not even going to be close. And outside of JD, you have nobody else you can run. Josh Hawley is so quiet right now. He knows he better stay in the Senate. Because if he tries to go outside, they're going to destroy him. He can't even run as DeSantis's vice president. It'll kill him. Honestly, the only way you could survive this and maybe win the White House and keep it, you better run DeSantis and Wheels. That's the only way you're going to beat the left. I know y'all are pissed that I said that. That's their only hope. But we know the right don't think.
Well, and I'm not a huge fan of either of them, actually. You could also say Thomas Massie on H-1Bs. You could say Thomas Massie on immigration also.
You could say him on Israel also, as far as his biggest donor. It's not AIPAC, but a lot of influence.
Certainly. Yeah. Certainly. But what I'm referring to is maybe more something like Trump 2016, who is basically a populist. And you look at Trump in 2016, and to me, that's kind of the prescription, where it's like in 2016, he comes out and he says, we're going to get the money out of politics. He says, I'm not going to take donor money. I'm not going to take super PAC money. I don't listen to special interests. He says, law and order, close the border. As far as healthcare, he didn't even give a plan. He said, we'll just take.
Do I think DeSantis could win? Depends on who they run. If they run Andy Bashir, probably not. They run Josh Shapiro, it might be tight. He might eke out a loss. They run anybody outside those two, DeSantis has a shot. Trust and believe, he's leaving next year. He's going to have a year to clean his image up. And besides, Florida is already tired of MAGA. Wait till you see this video I got on Byron Donald. It'll further illustrate that point. They don't like him. They don't like anything MAGA or Trump based in Florida. If he can parlay that and use that across the country, even to a 10% efficiency, depending on who the left runs, he could win. And like I said, that's their best bet of winning. They got to run him. They can't run anybody else. But, you know, again, they're not smart. They're going to go be stupid and run JD because he's already installed and he's going to have the Trump machine behind him and he's going to get destroyed. But you know what? It'll be great content for us.
Get to work!
Oh, Nene, see, that's what I was saying when I said he's going to clean it up. All he has to say with that is, I think the left did too much. There's bad elements out there. But hey, I have Disney in my state. All he has to do to end all that is take a photo with him shaking the hand of Bob Iger. All that stuff goes away. DeSantis having on the Mickey Mouse ears. Goes all away. Optics will sell you and win you an election. Correct. Disney is right wing. They like to play to the left because that's where the money is. Again, all he has to do is fly to LA and go to Bob Iger and have a sit down. Notice DeSantis didn't say much about what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. The script is already there.
Take care of everybody. He said, we'll get rid of the lines around the states and we'll just take care of everybody. Who even knows what that means? And he says, we're going to put America first in foreign policy. Now, I think that here's the thing. I'm under no illusions. We're not going to win 80% of the left or 40% or even 30%. But I'm thinking that if we can win, because I think there are a lot of people on the far left or even some of the abundance liberals, they're getting tired of a lot of the far left too. There's a lot of these liberals in the center that are saying, how are you going to have public transportation when you have people getting stabbed in the neck and there's no police? Like, we can't defund the police and even have these cities that we want to have. I think there's a lot of people on the far left too that are saying, you know, maybe the woke has gone too far.
I'm sorry, was that a quote? Did Ro Khanna say that, or was that just a general?
No, I'm not talking specifically about Ro Khanna. That's just an example.
Because when I hear it, I almost thought you said I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like something a liberal would say, like stab the cop in the neck.
No, when people are being stabbed in the neck by like black people, for example.
Oh, that's also something I could.
Okay. All right.
Here a leftist supporting, but yes, okay, go on. I just didn't know if it was the okay, yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, fundamentally, it comes down to the fact that let's just talk about it in general. So that's my prescription. It's like populist Trump, and let's just get a small percentage of the left liberals, you know, who I think have come a long way in the past 5 years since COVID.
I thought y'all told us that a whole bunch of liberals voted for Trump this past election. Are you telling us that was a lie? Were we not told this, Tabernacle? A lot of people on the left voted for Trump because they didn't trust Kamala Harris. Oh, that might have been a lie.
But I would say that in general, I think maybe where we disagree is I look at this Republican team. What has it actually done for us? Because you seem to be defending like, well, we're supposed to vote Republican and we're supposed to say, well, this is better than the alternative.
No.
And he's making these wins. Well, hang on. And I look at it and say, it's been 10 years of Trumpism. And, you know, I know Biden brought them in, but we're 10 million illegals up since Biden, and there's no mass deportations. I look at the wars. We're getting into more wars, not fewer.
He was never about mass deportation. That was a trick to get y'all to vote for him. It's like, okay, you see a couple videos of ICE pulling people out of cars. You think that's mass deportation? No. He's using policy, foreign policy, to get the job done on a problem that is domestic. And you still haven't figured out the play yet.
Yo, fuck nuts.
And this is the people that saying that they are smart. Since I got to say it again, your president is using foreign policy to solve a domestic problem, which we're saying is not a bad thing. But if you're talking about mass deportations, when you have the problem here, why are you using TPS and APS right now to try to stop that, when you should be getting the people that are here out of the country? Doing it from a foreign policy standpoint, that's easy. That's just denying applications. That's easy. You need to get the people that are on the ground already out of here. And he can't do it. And it's been an abject failure. He should have never promised that. He should have said, with this system, I got to look at it and we may have to overhaul it. That way you could have some sort of a buffer if something happens, like what's happening now, that you're not pulling the people out like you're supposed to, or you claimed you were going to. You could blame Congress. You could blame the judges at that point, because at least you came up with the proposal. You ran outside and said, I'm going to deport all these motherfuckers. And you ain't done it. You're hoping these other countries help you. Why would they take back their people? They have more resources now. Y'all don't want to talk. Thank you, Nene. This is another thing you want to beat Obama at. And it's failing. And the reason it's failing is because Obama was allowed to deport a whole bunch of people because the left wasn't told that they had to fight for those people. If they weren't dreamers, they weren't fucking with them. Remember that.
He wanted to keep us in Afghanistan and Bagram. He's building bases in Syria. We're getting into Venezuela. You know, I look at what we have not done in 10 years and I say, you know, this is a prescription where it hasn't been working. And so I'm very against this line where you say, well, we're going to vote Republican and we're going to, what exactly? I mean, what's your prescription? If Trump is failing us miserably, what are we supposed to do here?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is I don't agree that our representatives are all failing us miserably. I think they failed in quite a few ways. If you're talking about like the Johnsons of the world and the Rhinos, absolutely. But the things that you just listed, and I would, again, ask you for your prescription because I give mine Monday through Friday. I mean, every day, 11 a.m. Eastern. I've done one on voting, what we need to do. I've done one on immigration, done one on big tech and Section 230. I'm very curious as to your prescriptions so that people can contrast them. You mentioned law and order. I don't know of any president who sent the National Guard in as aggressively when we're talking about D.C. and Chicago. That way you talk about law and order. You're talking about
in Chicago.
Well, I'm saying any effort being made. I know what we've lived through as far as what Ro Khanna would support: Black Lives Matter, the Police and Justice Act. Again,
BLM
I don't think
happened under Trump in 2020.
So let me ask you, what's your prescription? Why hopscotch all the people who I think watching right now would agree with you if they think that you're on board with them on LGBTQ, on immigration, on Second Amendment rights, on First Amendment rights. Why hopscotch then to compromise with someone who has actively fought to destroy all those things like a Ro Khanna? Wouldn't it make more sense to form a coalition with more than half the country who already exists? Because you don't want to take them for granted. Take Trump out of it. I'm talking about the people, the voters.
The voters only care about the economy, sir, and making sure their children are straight. Your man didn't promise that. So anything he says underneath that, they don't want to hear it. He'd probably have a better shot at getting stuff done if people were in some sort of a recovery. We're slipping into a recession right now. If people had real money in their bank accounts, they weren't overdrawing on their accounts, they weren't in credit card debt up to their eyeballs, I think people would allow him to work. He hasn't done that. He's regressing the economy because he thinks he'll be able to destroy it, then fix it. And it's not going to work because the rest of the world is not on that script. They're making their money.
Your prescription.
I would say that it's a structural problem, which is that the reason, first of all, I mean, we have to deal with the fact that Trump is not delivering. Like, if you don't want to gish gallop, let's just start there. You say, well, I don't think it's a complete failure. Yeah, it is. And you bring up BLM. BLM happened in 2020 because Trump let it happen, because Sean Hannity was calling him every day.
BLM did not happen in 2020, sir. BLM started in 2014. The kid don't even know history. The kid was starting high school when BLM showed up. At most, he was a sophomore. This motherfucker. BLM started in 2020. This motherfucker. He got it.
And saying this is better for us in November if BLM burns down the cities. So the summer of love happened in 2020 when Trump was president, and then Trump comes back.
No, it started under Barack Obama with going back to Trayvon Martin.
The George Floyd
was 2020. You idiot! It started with Michael Brown. Oh my God! You don't even know.
Summer of love.
Yeah, it was a continuation.
Well, I think they kind of picked up on it. Don't you think? It wasn't.
I was there, and
Sir, again, you were in high school, sir. You saw those protests in 2015 and 2016. Let me guess, Kaepernick kneeling happened in 2020, right? Eric Reed kneeling happened in 2020, right? Oh, I remember. You saw Black Lives Matter on NFL and NBA and WNBA stuff. That's when you thought BLM started, right? Never mind that people had BLM stickers and placards in their windows in their apartments and houses in mid-2010s. People weren't running around. You could go find videos from 2014 to 2020 of people yelling out Black Lives Matter. By the way, screenshot number 8. This kid is an idiot. But they listened to him.
people on my show back then with Hands Up, Don't Shoot. And I remember the assassination of the Dallas PD. Donald Trump was elected, specifically his first term, because of how disruptive Black Lives Matter was and law and order. And I would say there was significantly more than under Barack Obama. But if you say they're the same, that's just where we disagree.
Well, wait, what are we debating about? I mean, in the George Floyd Summer of Love, maybe I'm wrong about the calendar. It was in 2020 when Trump was president, and it was the worst, arguably the worst BLM violence, I think, in the 21st century. I think that was worse, actually, than Mike Brown.
It wasn't BLM, sir. That was people that were locked down that were pissed off. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sir, did you forget that the entire world saw that man die on film? Did you forget that? You had people locked down. You just came off of Ahmaud Arbery. You just had Breonna Taylor happen. Now you have George Floyd happening. And you had people locked down. They were pissed off. Yes, they went to the streets because they were pissed off at the government. Not only did you keep us locked down in the house, we had to go call numbers to go get money out of the government that we already put money into just so we can survive. But now you killing people on film. Yeah, people got tired. And I love how y'all keep saying this BLM when there were a whole bunch of conservatives out there too doing the thing. You had a whole conservative burn down the Minneapolis Police Department. That precinct. That was somebody on the right. That wasn't a leftist. But yeah. Let's spin the narrative because you know your audience is dumb. Go ahead.
Or Trayvon Martin, and Trump was president, and he didn't intervene because he was told it'd be better for him. And now in 2025, there's no National Guard. He chickened out on that. He chickens out on all that stuff. He was going to send him to Chicago, going to send him to every major city. Never happened. Even here. You know, they're doing the deportations in Broadview here in Illinois. They brought in like 400 National Guard, and ICE is still getting chased. And they got boxed in by a bunch of different protesters, one with a semi-automatic rifle. There's no law and order. Irina Zarutska died under Trump. The crime in New York under Trump. The crime in Chicago under Trump.
What crime in New York, sir? What crime? God damn. Sir, crime was worse under Trump's first term in New York. What are you talking about? You got it, though. You got it.
It's a failure. And we're 10 years in. And so you say, what is it going to take? Because we elected him
can I
once,
ask you something,
twice.
though, just because this is the point I'd like to address when you say Irina Zarutska, and obviously.
By the way, Chicago had one of their worst years under Trump. Did we forget that? They had something like 400 homicides in one of Trump's years. You going to blame him for that too, or not?
So we've covered that, and I think we're in agreement when you look at the judge and you look at the man who was released, I believe, 14 times, right, under the guise of equity, Black Lives Matter, precisely the kinds of policies that only exist because they have been supported by the radical left who run the entire Democrat Party, right? So, yeah, some of that happened under Trump's watch, and I agree. He's definitely far from perfect, and I think he's failed in a lot of ways. But who has been orchestrating? You talk about these constructionists, right? They want that, and people like Ro Khanna, people who you talk about in your coalition, it's their raison d'etre. So why hopscotch the voters who would not vote for that coalition precisely for the reasons we're discussing? Because they're against all of it, because Trump hasn't done enough to fight. I mean, COVID happened under Trump too. Huge mistakes. Fauci, awful. But I certainly think that 20 million illegal aliens in 4 years is worse than a reduction of 90-something%. I certainly think that the people who orchestrated Black Lives Matter and the people who ran those cities and the people who have blocked ICE from doing anything is worse than the guy sending in ICE with any effort at all.
But let's talk about even that. Why do
Okay, so Chicago is run by liberals. So you're telling me your Republican president was scared to send National Guard troops to a liberal city? The third biggest city in the country, he was scared to send them there? He damn near sent them down there to Charlotte. No, he sent ICE to Charlotte. He had National Guard in D.C. You telling me Trump is scared to send National Guard troops to Chicago? Why? Because of some Democrats? Democrats. He's scared of Hyde Park? Huh? Oh, correct. It is under federal control. So why did he say he was going to send the National Guard to Chicago if he knew he couldn't do it or he was scared? Explain that to me. Oh, it's easy to send ICE. That's easy. Send the National Guard. You let Pritzker tell him to fuck off. You let a fat billionaire heir tell you to screw off if you try to use my National Guard. He had to go sit up there and try to get it from other states. and it looked like it failed. That's fine, sir. If ICE is enforcing federal law, that's fine. Why is he not cleaning up a state and a city? Why is he not cleaning it up? By the way, y'all's Nick Fuentes, he more worried about Broadview, a suburb. Yeah, ICE can go into Chicago. That's great. Is that going to stop the crime? Nope. What do you mean you can't just mobilize the National Guard? He just did it. He did it in DC. What do you mean? Trump talked big and bad, said he was going to use the National Guard to get the illegals out and to get the crime down. So it should be easy, right? It should be easy. Or do we realize there's checks and balances and he thinks that because he the Fed, he don't have to follow them? So you agree there's checks and balances? Good evening, Donnie. Good evening, SD Johnson. He's following them. So why is Chicago not a place where he said he gonna drop them guards at? Explain that to me. Why would you say you're going to do something knowing you don't have the power to do it? You're literally making Nick Fuentes sound competent for once.
We get all these people from Venezuela because Trump hired John Bolton to destroy Venezuela's economy, and then on his last day in office gave Venezuela temporary protected status. That was one of his last acts as president, and that means they can't be deported. And then you got 6 million Venezuelans in an exodus, and how many of them ended up here? And by the way, Trump ran in 2016 saying, we're going to build the wall and we're going to solve immigration. It didn't happen. There's no wall. He didn't solve it. What he did was executive orders, which Biden immediately overturned when he took power and then brought in 10 million. Okay, so Trump gets elected again. What does Trump do?
Okay, explain to me what federal law Illinois is not following. What federal law? What federal law did Illinois not follow? You literally just said if the government is explicitly not following federal laws, he could send a National Guard. I'm asking you, what did the Illinois state government not follow? That was federal law. Show us the act where it says that illegal aliens have to be kicked out of the country. Go ahead, show it to us. I want y'all to really think about that. He hasn't signed not one order saying that all illegal aliens gotta go. He keeps doing TPSs. And that should be easy. Oh, he was threatening not to enforce immigration law. What law? What was the law? That's what I'm asking you. Give me the law. What law did Trump sign into existence that said that all the immigrants got to go? What did he say? Give us the code so we can look it up. Go get that for me and go get that for us. I want to see it.
You're right. He did secure the border. That's true. but we're 10 million deep. That's a little too late. He promised mass deportations. We've had maybe 300,000 deportations this year. Is that going to go up during the midterm elections? Is that going to go up when everybody's running in the primary in 27? I don't see it happening. And either way, it hasn't happened. So this is my frustration where I'm like, I was with you in the first term. As in the first term, when I was in college, I was like, yeah, like vote for Trump, never coming down. If he falls short, we'll go on Twitter and tell him to try better. But 16, 18, 20, 22, 24.
Okay, you gave me the Deportable Aliens Act. And I'm sitting here looking at it. The time of entry. So you want him to pull retroactive now? That's what we're doing? Oh. And you wonder why it's not working. Let's see the expedited removal. Oh, let's see. What's that code? USC. What is it? US 8 USC 1225. Okay. Let's look that up. Pertains to the inspection of aliens by immigration officers and outlines the process for expedited removal of inadmissible arriving aliens. Arriving. We're talking about the people that were already here. Arriving. Oops. And actually, the governor does have the power. Oops. You gave us another one. 8 USC 1231. Arriving, he says. Okay, let's look at this one. Pertains to the detention and removal of aliens who have been ordered removed from the United States. Sounds like they had to go through a process. Oops. Looks like he lied to you again. Let's look up 1227 because I don't want to be accused that I'm not saying nothing. Let's see the classes of aliens who are deportable from the United States, including those convicted of certain crimes such as drug offenses and crimes involving moral turpitude. It specifies the conditions under which an alien may be removed from the country based on a criminal history. Oops. Well, funny thing, most of those aliens that he's trying to get rid of don't have criminal records. It sounds like y'all got sold a bill of goods again. This sounds like 2016 all over again. Thank you, Donnie, because I was just about to get to that. You're basically asking him to get rid of an amendment on the Constitution, and he doesn't have the balls to do that because Congress would never sign off on it. He tried to big boy the states, and it didn't work. That's hilarious. He should have probably used the Obama playbook. He might have been more successful. But that would cause Trump to lean into his liberal upbringing. But you know, you got it. By the way, I'm hearing the crickets on your side. You didn't think I was going to pull it up in real time, huh? Thank you. The woman whose comments I just put up, yeah, she hit me to law. Got a brother studying. You might want to try again.
Get to work. You know, Republicans have called for our vote all these times, and things are not getting better, like at all. And that's sort of the frustration where I start to say, let's turn the table around. And I'm not hopscotching over the voters. I want all the right-wing voters.
By the way, your Fed, including Trump, fed them all that money to do what they were doing. Now he want to try to clean it up. Doesn't work like that.
voters. What I want to hopscotch is the donors. I want to hopscotch the party, which is the RNC, which is little tech, Silicon Valley, which is the Israel lobby, which is Wall Street, because they're driving the stuff. Like the reason that Trump is not really what he delivers, or what he promises, is because, if you were to deport all these illegal aliens, it's going to be bad for big agriculture, Wall Street, inflation might tick up. And so
Marjorie Taylor Greene's construction company.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. And that's why I want to bypass.
Okay, so bypass. So, and nobody is saying that President Trump is perfect. And I'm not a micro-political guy, a cultural guy largely. And I think there's been a major shift culturally. I mean, half of all gay characters are going to be going away, and GLAAD is lamenting that. I don't know how much more happy I can get. I think that the replatforming is a big thing, right? I mean, as someone who's been also debanked, demonetized through PayPal, Shopify, all that, very similar to you. The fact that you're able to sit here now and have this conversation, I mean, it took a lot of work from coalition people like me, turning down a $50 million contract and migrating the world's biggest conservative, right-leaning nationalist YouTube channel over to Rumble so that you're able to do that. That's a win, right? And you could look at that like a light switch, deplatformed, including the president himself, replatformed. To me, that's probably the biggest thing. The fact that you are able to sit here and talk when you weren't.
But I got replatformed under Biden. I got my Twitter account back in May 24. Musk bought Twitter in 2022. Right. And Rumble really started to grow after Trump got banned in 21. That's when all the little tech money jumped in, because they said, we're going to do True Social, Trump Media Group, Rumble, these things. So, now that Trump is back in office, there's might be more censorship. Like you have people,
but Elon Musk put you back specifically. He bought that to balance the powers that be. I mean,
wrong. That's not why he bought it. He bought it to put up that BS model so he could buy friends, so he could influence the election. That's why he bought it. He wanted to be in the big tech playhouse with Zuckerberg and Noah over there who runs Google. Why do you think he hired away Wishesky to go run X, and now she out? It wasn't about sitting up there trying to balance whatever scale you're going to try to pull. He was there to buy friends because he knew he couldn't make an offer on Facebook. He couldn't make an offer on Google or Alphabet. He had to go to Twitter because Jack was out and Twitter was starting to fail out because Trump was there, and then Trump got banned. The app went to crap. So he came in, swooped in, had to take Fidelity and Saudi Arabia money to pay for it, and got the app. And then all the racists went back over there. And funny thing, he keeps telling everybody that this is the great app. This is where everybody comes from for the news, and he can't generate no dollars. So he said, whatever little money we're making off of ads, we're just going to try to recirculate it back to the users. So everybody went there to go pay for a check, gave up their ID to Israel, gave up their data to the Middle East just so they could get a payout, hopefully. Something to subsidize their income, or at least try to make an income, because they couldn't do it on TikTok because nobody wanted to hear no MAGA shilling. Now he's setting it up so he can sell it next year to them Saudis. So this was a 4-year-long grift. And I'm sure we'll revisit this next year when those articles start coming out that he's talking to the Saudis. There's a deal in place. So once again, Asia's going to make intellectual property. Even if they sell TikTok to an Asian company, they're still going to make money off of it because they have the intellectual property and the patent. And they're also now going to have control of X. They already got control of Electronic Arts. Interesting. But go ahead. You still haven't figured out that play either.
There was a point in time.
But it wasn't Trump.
But But that's the reason for it, right? There's no world in which you're replatformed unless Donald Trump is running again and someone like Elon Musk sees an already existing populist movement. That is important. And right now, this will actually be clips on YouTube. That could never have happened. I mean, I was...
Sure, they were playing Nick Fuentes clips on YouTube when he was banned. What are you talking about? The only caveat was he couldn't have a YouTube channel. But people were playing clips of this man all the time. What are you talking about?
Literally deplatformed for having Carrie Lake on in a midterm. That's why we couldn't stream the elections. So to say that, well, that's because of Biden, are you giving Biden credit for Elon Musk buying X and bringing you back? Because I think that you got to give some credit here if you want to build a coalition. Can you build a coalition with the people going, hey, we are really anti-censorship and we're really hesitant to get back in bed with the party that pushed for all of it? Because there are other people not as popular as you.
Republicans censored y'all in 2020. You went back and voted for him 4 years later.
You who've also been deplatformed and replatformed as a result.
No, I'm not giving Biden credit. All I'm saying is you attribute that to Trump or for Republicans being in power. All I'm saying is one's got nothing to do with the other. And actually, it was a response. Musk buying Twitter was a reaction to the overreach of the Democrats because they banned the president from Twitter. And
oh my God. So why didn't he buy Facebook? They were the first ones to ban him. Why didn't he go after Facebook? And if he was so hell-bent on making sure that Trump got in, why didn't he just go back to the old Jack Dorsey model from 2009? Just have the celebrities there. Let them push the content. Let them push the numbers up. That way they can bring in the advertisers, the big money advertisers. Why didn't they do that? He bought an app so he could buy friendships, sir. Money don't buy happiness and money don't buy friendships. Elon Musk essentially became MC Hammer.
This is how real it is to The Rock. Chills. This is how real it is to The Rock.
You're right. Nick is the GOAT. He's the Gollum of all time. You're right.
Get to work. I would add to that also, censorship is a big problem. I don't think we're in the clear with Rumble or Twitter. There's going to be a lot of regulatory. Either. Yeah. And what is Trump doing to solidify this free speech beachhead that you have built, that Elon has built? Nothing. Was that in the big, beautiful bill? Is the FCC getting on top of that? They flirted with doing that in 2020 when they said they were going to do section, what is it, 270 or 280 section or whatever? They talked about doing that.
The FCC folded in front of Disney, sir. They folded. Your president folded. Keep talking about, I'm going to pull licenses. You know damn well you ain't got the problem. You ain't got the problem. You ain't got the moxie. You ain't got the money. You pull one of those licenses from one of those big three companies, and you're going to see hella industries drop. And somebody must have told you that. I'm talking about Trump. Someone told him that, especially with Disney. We also have a live on here where we showed what Disney owns. Corporations are bigger than the government. And you watch your president fold, but you still want to praise him. Go ahead.
They never did it. And so that's my problem and I'm with you. Like,
well, no, can I just pause that? Because that's kind of in my realm of expertise. Because this is something where I've been here this entire time.
Totally.
Right? And not to take credit, but certainly a pioneer in being demonetized and hiring. My biggest expense, especially coming up, was legal outside of payroll, because I saw this type of of censorship coming. I'm the only one who was named in the Facebook files by name. That's how I met my lawyer, the Twitter files, and Susan Wojcicki and Congress women. I don't know if there were any men. I know there were a few women. I think Pelosi and what's her name? The Hirono, the lady from Hawaii who always talks about sex, asking for me to be, have you ever had sexual relations with him? That's how she opens every single hearing. It's like, how horny are you, lady? So that is something that I've lived through. And I think you're maybe discounting how bad it can get. And 230 is important, right? I've issued a prescription on how to fix that. And yeah, I'm disappointed that there hasn't been something fully solidified. But I would say there's a reason you're back. There's a reason that people are not afraid to speak out. And people like Trump, people who are more populist, the populists who exist on the right, they listen to their base. And I think it's good that you're pushing him. But what would be enough? In other words, would there be a threshold enough so that you don't just sort of, elope with the Ro Khannas and the Bernie bros of the world?
It's not about eloping. And I would say, what does enough look like? I would know it when I saw it. It would be not like bombing Iran is like a punchline for what Israel wants. That's pretty bad. I would say that not mass deporting people. You don't need to deport 10 million in 1 year, but 1 million per year. And how about anything? And literally anything on free speech. You know, Ron DeSantis had some legislation and Texas had some legislation about free speech. Could we get something like that, regulatory or legislative? Mm-hmm. You know, I just look across the board and maybe this addresses the heart of the matter. I sort of look at Trump and I say, I see what you have done for them. Can you bless us in the same way? Because they will move heaven and earth to lower the corporate tax rate. They will move heaven and earth to give $1 trillion for AI. And they will give Saudi Arabia, non-NATO major defense ally. They'll give Qatar security guarantee. They'll bomb Iran for Israel. They'll bomb Yemen for Israel. What will you do for us? A middle-class tax cut? Will you give us law and order, National Guard, mass deportation? Like, how about pick one, something? So, you know, maybe we just different approach, because I think you share these frustrations, but you're saying, let's work with them. Let's not burn it all down. And you look at me as someone that's saying, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I get where you're coming from, but
is that a wrong assessment? Because and first off, I do want to correct, because it does matter. 2 million are gone. A lot of people self-deported, which to me is like a magic trick. No. Yep, 2 million are gone. And, that's fake. And a 94%. Okay, well, I'll make sure the references are available. And if people disagree, they can check that out. But there's a lot of self-deportation going on. Also, a 93 to 99% reduction. So if 1 million, 2 million are gone, I would argue the number is 2 million, and you reduce it, I don't think that's marginal. And I think that's probably the biggest issue if you want to preserve a country. Is it enough? Is it ideal? No, but it's better than another 15 million. And the people who brought in 15 million are the people you are suggesting to be part of a coalition after it's burned down. So what's the prescription? What does it look like when you say throw the baby out with the bathwater? What does it look like? You get Trump out, you get 4 years of Kamala, right? If you had your way, 4 more years of Newsom. What does it look like? I'm asking you for the prescription, because I'll tell you, mine is primaries. Mine is having people who listen to their base. Mine is making sure that we can make incremental change. The biggest disappointments would be H-1Bs for sure. The biggest 600,000 Chinese students, huge disappointment. Section 230, right? I have prescription for all of those. What is yours? What does that look like? Revolution or coalition, and then burn it down, for the baby out with the bathwater. The alternative is, that's where I think I'm missing you.
Here's my prescription. I just think that we need the young people to climb the ladder. I want to march through the institutions, get them in the college Republicans, to the campaigns, to the congressional offices, the think tanks. I think that we need to engage in primaries. In 2026, I'm going to be very active, and we're going to tell everybody who's America first and who isn't, and who to vote for. And I think the people that are not America first, I think they should lose their elections. In 2028,
so do I.
Yeah, okay. So then, we agree on that. In 28, I think we should back a presidential candidate who is going to basically emulate what Trump did in 2016, which is anti-corruption, America first, close the borders. And if that person can make inroads with the left, I think that's an interesting idea, because maybe the area of disagreement is there are a lot of people in our right-wing coalition who are kind of part of the problem. I would say there are, like, for example, when Trump bombed Iran, you had like 70% of Republicans supporting that. That's a load of crap.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of Republicans.
I'm okay with the
I know you are. And I've heard your argument. We could have that one out. But like, I think that's a huge problem. And I think that there's a lot of people that, you know, they're going to vote for Trump literally no matter what. And what that does is it creates moral hazard, because then Republicans know that they can come in, they can screw us forever. And I guess the question is, for me, my prescription is like, I want results now. If you don't give them to us, we don't care. We will burn it down. And I'm being the unreasonable person in the room. I feel like you, because you're being reasonable, you are allowing the establishment to get away with everything. And they'll always be stringing you along, telling you, oh, well, you know, it's better than the alternative. Well, in the next 2 years, we're going to get it. 2 million, that's fake. That's from the community survey. They polled 65,000 people. You know, there's a response bias. It's not happening. And you say, well, it's better than nothing. It almost isn't, because what happens? We get a Democrat in 4 years anyway.
Hold on a second. I'm not saying it's better than nothing. I'm not saying it's better than nothing. I'm saying that it's better than what you suggested was a superior alternative, Kamala Harris. That's the standard that we do need to use here, because you said Kamala Harris would be a better choice. I'm not saying it's better than nothing, good enough. I mean, you're talking to Dan Crenshaw. Will never be back on this show because I called him to task on the TAPS Act. I was like, well, how is this not red flag laws? No, there's no one who likes those in positions of authority who betray their base. And I think that base, by the way, is a pretty big coalition. It includes conservative. It's bigger than ever with Donald Trump. Donald Trump isn't really a classical conservative. I think it's better than Kamala Harris. And I can't think of anyone less America first than who you suggested, Ro Khanna. That's why I bring it up. That's why I bring it up.
You're getting hung up on that.
Okay, so any member of the Democrat Party. I can't think of anyone less America first than the current Democrat Party. Republicans are flawed. I believe that.
Oh, God.
Go through it. Warren, Kamala Harris, who you said would be a better choice. Gavin Newsom.
He's still worried about these mainstream Democrats. This is why they're going to get their ass kicked next year. And they're going to get their ass kicked in 28. You're worrying about the people on TV. Jesus Christ. Hey, Steven, they're going to run a governor. You dummy. You're more worried about Newsom. You're letting Andy Beshear and Josh Shapiro operate. Josh Shapiro is already sympathetic because somebody tried to burn down the governor mansion, and people in Kentucky, a red state, love Beshear. So keep putting all your eyes on stupid Newsom. Because you know you can't go and sit there and to your audience explain Josh Shapiro or Andy Beshear. You can't explain why Kentucky is starting to get hella investment from Fortune 500 companies. You can't explain that. Yeah, you can knock Josh Shapiro for Philly. You can't knock him for the rest of the state, though. But all right, keep going.
Whitmer, I believe they fundamentally hate everything about America. I can't name one thing.
I'm not talking, Ro Khanna, I'm not talking about him specifically. And like I said, okay. I'm not even talking about Thomas Massie. I'm using them as an example.
As proxy.
You're probably correct, Mop Jitsu, but guess what? He's going to be on that stage. He's going to be able to audition himself for a job, a high-level job. Yes, he did die. Yes, he did. Shout out to Shang Tsung.
Model. Well, as a model, because as sort of a proof of concept, because you have a Republican and a Democrat who, by the way, I don't even agree with them on most things. Like, I criticize Thomas Massie a lot. But it's an example of bipartisanship on a populist issue, an anti-elite issue that everybody supports. And who is against it? The Republican establishment, Trump, Johnson. And I'm saying that's an example of cooperation where the right can maybe lean into these issues that You know, maybe they're nonpartisan issues and rally everybody against the establishment in our own party. And it's just, to me, that's always the disconnect, is you want to talk about Kamala Harris and Ro Khanna. And I'm saying, let's imagine a different scenario.
No. I'm not. I don't want to talk about them. You brought them up, and repeatedly so.
You brought them up.
I brought up you. Come on, let's be fair. I disagree with you. I understand your approach, though, too. I understand your approach because I feel that way, like I said, about the conservative guard in media. In other words, we'd be pretty much on the same page. Anyone in conservative media, and we've seen it where they are gatekeepers, but there's a mechanism to fix that. And we've seen that change. And Rumble is a big part of that. And I agree with you. More needs to be done about Section 230. But I brought them up because you use those examples. And as someone who believes that they fundamentally disdain America, Kamala Harris, to be fair, she's really dumb. So she may not actually know what she believes or thinks. But I do believe like a Whitmer hates America. I do believe that.
But y'all were just sitting here saying you don't know what Trump believes in. Nick literally sat there and showed you what Trump does not believe in. You literally agreed with him. Nasty work. I think we have enough. I don't think we need to hear no more. They're insane, and this is why they're going to lose. The Democrats are still polling way worse than the Republican and Trump as a whole in aggregate polling. Until Democrats ditch mass migration and social issues, it's still a toss-up. Lord have. They've already changed the messaging. They threw the Republicans off by acting moderate. Now it's time to tweak the message. I said this earlier before you got here. The Democrats are going to start getting rid of the far left after the midterms. They're going to treat them like how both of those parties are going to treat MAGA. They're going to destroy them. They let them have their fun for a decade, no more. Sir, they've already done it. Ro Khanna is one of the most moderate Democrats in the House of Representatives, and he keeps getting brought up. They're all moving to the center. No, they don't. They don't need the far left to win. No, they don't. All they have to do is talk about the economy. That's all they have to do. That's literally what you're going to hear next year. Sir, who cares how much it is? They have an 85% base that can sit there and just say, listen, we care about the economy. We care about our children. What do you got for us? All they have to do is lay out a plan. They can drown out AOC. That's it. That's all they have to do. The Republicans made it so easy for them to win next year. All the Republicans had to do was sit there and follow Trump. They made it so easy for the Democrats to win next year because none of them will call him out because they're too scared to be called a rhino. And now all of them now, especially in Tornado Alley, have to sit up there and look at their constituents in the face, knowing that they align with a man that's taking money out of their pockets. Sir, you don't need a demographic shift. You just need a realignment. This is what I'm talking about. You guys think that everything has to swing both ways. No, you're in the age right now with midterms. All you have to do is get your messaging on point. All you have to do is reconnect the puzzle pieces. That's all you got to do. You don't need to go over and say, you know what, we're going to just change our whole stance. The Democrats have had the same stance. They just let the far left talk too much. No, it's not just about not taking money from people that are aligned with AIPAC, because you have Republicans in there too. By the way, family, who wants a couple presents before we leave? It's the month of Christmas if you celebrate it. We got a couple presents today. Now, number one, this is something I just mentioned in regards to old DeSatan. Remember how I kept saying that old DeSatan has a shot at winning in 28, depending on who the Democrats run? Well, look who's starting to run interference for him. And you'd actually be shocked at who it was. Again, they don't need the 15%. Because you know where they could get it from? The right. And no, the Democrats don't need us. This is what you're failing to realize. They don't need us. We proved it to them for the last decade. We're not about them no more. They don't want to do for us, so we're gonna fuck everybody up. And you just saw it happen in this election. But we got a present for you.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern.
Look who's praising DeSatan.
I want to tell you some behind the scenes color on the DeSantis's. We had dinner with them the night before, and so we got to meet Casey as well. And let me tell you, that relationship is legit. They really are in love. You could see it just in the way they look at each other. You could see the way she has his back, the way she would sort of tee up the right conversations that would reflect well on him and she has her own distinct opinions, of course, but I'm a very loyal partner, very clearly, and he's defensive of her too. And it was nice. I mean, it's just nice. It's nice to have the thought of a couple in the White House that actually is madly in love and has each other's backs and is young and vibrant with the young, beautiful kids who we also had the pleasure of meeting. They're adorable. They're really little. They've been in politics and in a political house basically their whole life because they're babes, 6, 5, and 3, as he said. But my impression of the family was it's a very happy one, which was nice to see. It was just nice to see. I will say that the discussion that we had the night before is off the record, so we're not going to get into the substance here. But I will tell you that he's extremely knowledgeable about every single issue that I teed up to him. I mean, there was no issue on which he couldn't go 10 deep. And it was interesting to hear him talk like that. We got to some of it in the interview. You know, we went deep on Disney. And I know that the audience is on his side on that, but still, you know, I've got my issues that you don't keep raising. But it was interesting to listen to him fight that fight and explain himself, not just.
We talked about Disney. What did I just tell y'all about 15 minutes ago for him to win in a general election and the lead up to that? All he had to do was sit there and say, you know what, Bob Iger, I want a meeting with you. Let's bury the hatchet. You've provided many Floridians with jobs and many hundreds of millions of Americans and foreign people with memories that will last a lifetime. I don't agree with everything you do, but I appreciate you. And take that handshake and put it online. It go viral. Now he looks like a likable person. And you just heard what Skeletor just said.
Once, but go the next layer, go the next layer. And he can do that on everything. His thoughts on the Supreme Court, on the justices that are up there, on Trump's picks versus some of the picks we've had earlier, all very interesting stuff. Didn't have time for it in this sit down, but we'll hopefully get to it in another one. And I will tell you this too. He's funny. He was doing impressions that had us in hysterics. Like I had never seen that side of him, you know.
Huh. By the way, Megan, because we know you fell out with MAGA.
Why do you feel the necessity to insult people?
Again.
Is that
Where's the script? Read the script.
Is this a big defensive thing that you've got?
Read the script.
Why don't you read your own script?
And
stop the cap.
Stop the count right now! Stop the count!
Interesting. But we're going to end this off with something hilarious. Are you ready? Fam. Cal, is you ready? Guess who got a kick in the... Well, you know what? In honor of this person, guess who got a kick in the culo today? Guess who? Guess who? Yes. They did. And you gonna love it.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
Yeah. You're seeing that correctly. Put a phone. I said, pick up the phone. Dinner's ready. He did the Trumpy Trump. And Trumpy Trump say, I'm going to endorse somebody for Texas. I'm going to endorse a white man. By the way, who remembers when old wannabe Colombiana, when she pulled this, when we watched it yesterday? That's gotta suck. She said, MAGA is behind me. Yeah, as they push you out the door. What this say? This is Donald Trump's official Truth Social post. Congressman John Judge Carter is a fantastic representative for the great people of Texas's 31st Congressional District. Judge served over 20 years as a district court judge in Williamson County prior to becoming a very distinguished and respected U.S. congressman. He is working tirelessly to grow our economy, cut taxes and regulations, promote Made in the USA, champion American energy dominance, keep our now very secure border secure, stop migrant crime, red rummers, and other criminals from illegally entering our country, strengthen our military/veterans, and defend our always under siege Second Amendment. Judge Carter has my complete and total endorsement for re-election. He will never let you down. Valentina did something yesterday with that MAGA hat.
The assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups.
Well, guess who else saw this coming?
We know this. The Chinese know that we know. But we make believe that we don't know, and the Chinese make believe that they believe that we don't know, but know that we know. Everybody knows.
Well, madam, I guess that MAGA endorsement, you trying to burn the Quran, I think that was a little too much for Trump, especially since he has interests over there in Muslim countries. He's really not the greatest president, but if you feel that way, hey, we're all entitled to our opinions. You, madam, wore that ridiculous hat because it matched your blazer. And Trump came in and said this.
Who the hell told you tonight was open mic night, bitch?
You thought you were going to get the Trump cosign? Well, Valentina, it is official.
It's a round. It's a rap for you round. And a rap for your round. I'll let a round rap around every rap around till it's rap around. This rap around. Cat, I'll rap around a round rap. I'll let a round rap around round. How you gonna get around that?
Fam. We'll do it for you. Take a screenshot of that. If you're still not blocked by her on X, put that up there one time. Oh, and you thought they were going to say, hey, look here. You know, you don't need Trump. You can get it as long as you get it out the mud. Well, Brendan Diddley. He got a big account. He laughing. What this is? Who's this Amani? Defending the future of digital rights. Founder of Muslim Girl. Oxford scholar. Oh, she might be woke.
Valentina Gomez, an immigrant herself, is acting out a fantasy where she's earned ownership over this country by parroting the prejudices of the people she's desperate for approval from. She's actually decided assimilation means erasing who she is and mirroring the people that are the most hostile to her own origins. But here's the funniest and the most ridiculous part, okay?
What that is.
She's exactly who the far-right voters that she's catering to claim to hate the most.
Oh, Lord.
She's an immigrant, pretending to be an American, milking American opportunity, and exploiting the very...
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No bullshit, bro.
You think Trump is not a corporate puppet? He literally just got worked yesterday with the 3 big car companies. But he's not a corporate puppet? Oh my, oh, what do you define as a corporate puppet? Should I bring up Butterball? He's not a corporate puppet. Then he should bring down then he should bring down he should raise the corporate tax then, right? He should do that. You sure he's not a corporate puppet? Are you sure? The corporations who are building a ballroom for him, that's not being a corporate puppet? Oh, because he's not using taxpayer money, right? Even though we subsidize those corporations every day through their lobbyists. You're right. They're not corporate puppets. He's not a corporate puppet. Oh, okay. Okay. The Union Pacific CEO gave him a big donation for that. That's not, oh, okay. That's not corporate, being a corporate puppet. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Elon Musk, that's not being a corporate puppet, right? Yeah, there you go. Here's him not being a corporate puppet. The WWE gave him $16 million. Oh, you're right. Chevron gave him $2 million. Yeah. Uber, Facebook, Amazon, ExxonMobil. This sounds like corporate puppet. Okay. But you're right. He's not a corporate puppet. They're just giving him that money because, you know, they like what he was saying. Okay. Been a year, no middle class, but somehow these corporations are still making money. You got influencers running around talking about Black Friday was a record, not even taking into effect that that was all inflationary money. You're right. He's not a corporate puppet. He won't release job report numbers. We know that's part of the reason why they're not being released. Consumer confidence, you find out all these corporations are letting people off. Yeah, corporate confidence goes down. People pull their money from the stock market. They make less money. Yeah, you're right. He's not a corporate puppet. Very good. But anyway, y'all, hopefully you learned something. If you did, I done my job. If not, I try to be better next time. That was a slog to get through. I apologize, but, you know, we didn't even finish it because there's nothing else to finish. They from the clips I saw before we started this, they weren't saying nothing. And we just confirmed it. And also confirmed that Nick Fuentes is not smart. And so is Steven Crowder, which is why I made the thumbnail the way I did. For those who didn't see it. And Donnie, I'm going to call you right after I get off this thing because I have to ask you a question. But yeah. And just to clarify, when Steven Crowder brought up Ben Shapiro, he was talking about having a one-on-one conversation, not to have Nick Fuentes there, because we know Ben would never sit there and talk to Nick Fuentes like that in that type of setting. We know this. But anyway, y'all take care, stay safe, and you know what to do when the agents of chaos come to mess up your existence.
Oh, here it goes!
Time's up.
Get your ass up! We gotta get out of here now!
But did we have a good time here? Hello?
Gotta get your groove on!
At the end of the day gotta end.
That's it.